Okay, this hangout is live on air, and today we wanted to talk about morality and especially modesty. And modesty is something we all need to talk about. Earlier in my video, I talked about Kant and Locke and Hobbes, how they perceived morality or standards of rationality. Kant proposed the question why we should participate in a system that harms us. And that seems to be a lot like Mgtow there. Why should we participate in a system that harms us? But when we move from one system into our individuality and morality and responsibility, we have a question of modesty. If you show ill modesty, then you will be perceived as unrational, and you will be perceived as a degenerate person, a descender of society. And that's pretty much what we're going to talk about today. And we want to tackle some of these issues. And one of the issues that I see as destructive to Mgtow is the issues of anime porn. Now, I got a lot of guys saying that anime porn is art, and a lot of guys saying it's not dangerous, and a lot of guys that saying a lot of things about, is that my yep, there I did it again, huh? That's a lot of guys are saying a lot of things, but they're not saying the point with modesty. What happens is when you practice immodesty, uh, it comes back to bite you in the end. Hello, disidentity. I was just giving the speech before we proceed into this thing. What happens when you practice immodesty, it comes back to bite us later on. When these things are not perceived as bad, they will go places, and it will go on and on and on, and it'll get worse and worse. And then someday, someone's going to they're going to flip out the word pedophile, and that will end Mgtow. And that will end Mgtow in a harsh way. Anybody that's associated with Mgtow will be simply called a pedophile. I've seen this before on pages, especially on the Yahoo page with, who is that? That Yahoo new director. All she had to do to shut down those pages was say pedophile. Then she converted them all to the new SM pages where they're phone accessible, and she got rid of a whole group of chat sessions. So the silver bullet was the word pedophile. Do we open ourselves up to this thing, pedophile, when we allow certain things to happen around here? And what is the extent of what we should allow to happen around here? What do you think, Shining?
Yes, a very sensitive and a very necessary topic indeed. I mean, we all like to believe, or we all like to think that we're very liberal in our acceptance of people and in behaviour, but in reality, every single person, without exception, has their limits and has their level of morality. Obviously, it's going to vary from one person to another. But yes, I mean, it's all very well. I know it's just a YouTube forum we've got here, and people are on here mainly to find some pastime, some entertainment, and perhaps even benefit from some information we might glean from the materials we watch. But we do have a responsibility. I mean, every action has its consequences, regardless how small. And unfortunately, sometimes what we might perceive as being something insignificant can be something quite serious. I mean, as you mentioned, the word paedophile it's a big witch hunt, but it's a witch hunt that can be very, very damaging. I mean, all you need to do now to totally discriminate somebody is just incriminate somebody is call them a
Incriminate them,
paedophile.
yes.
And yeah, I mean, that's it. And yeah, I mean, what's been going on lately with the Hollywood thing? I mean, we had Gary Glitter, we had what's his name, the guy that played the Cosby Show. Can't remember his
Okay,
name.
yeah.
And
Yeah,
and
Bill Cosby.
and it's been going around, and lately we've had in the UK Parliament, the Tories are getting discovered that they were part of paedophile thing, and once it gets bandied about, it just sticks around, regardless if it's true or not. And then, we certainly don't want it sticking to Mgtow. I mean, if it's falsely accused, it's one thing, but when guys really are sharing very distasteful material, then yeah, we
Right.
need to call it out.
Right. Now, my point has often been, and my point and my stance on this, with Gamergate and Link Blue shared all that stuff, and afterwards, I got hit with that 4 times. I think Greg Becker reshared it a few times, and a few people reshared it a few times. But what they did wrong, and I think you'll agree with this, is they redisseminated the original material that was quite graphic. And that morning, I had a 6-year-old boy living here for a while, and the 6-year-old boy was playing on the Google Games. But there's not a lot of ways to separate Google Games from Google Chat, and when you start getting those messages, so in essence, they disseminated porn to a 6-year-old boy that morning. We have 14, 15-year-old boys in here. We have a lot of 16-year-old boys in here, and there was 2 16-year-old boys in that hangout, I believe, wasn't there?
Yeah, well, that's the thing. I mean, sometimes we forget it's quite an open forum. I mean, when one person invites their circles, and then from that circles, that guy invites all their circles, and before you know it, you've got 100, 200 people in a certain hangout. And obviously, we all live in communities, and you don't know who's going to be on that computer at that time. Could be the wrong person at the wrong time, and sometimes we forget that. And obviously, yeah, I mean, it's fine, if you've got something you're sharing privately, and you're trying to keep secret, that's one thing. But unfortunately, it's been getting wider, and the widespread of this disseminated material, it's gonna get out of hand, and I think that's what happened. I think one too many hangout windows are opened, and maybe people forgot that instead of just their private friends that was viewing everything that was going on, it was actually a lot of people.
Yeah. Now let me. We have a certain decorum in here that we try to stick to on these things, and sometimes it's breached, sometimes it's not breached. Let me give an example. Sandman just made a video on how he believes pornography saved his career. Mm-hmm. So what Sandman was saying was he jerked his way off through college, and somehow that gave him the metaphysical strength to continue. It gave him it was stress relief for him. Now, when we speak of modesty, do we talk about those things in Mgtow?
It's strange, isn't it? I mean, I said it before. It seems like there's a group of people that see Mgtow as a forum for them to share their sexual, urges, perversities, or their sexual preferences, or whatever. And I don't really think it is. I don't think any place on YouTube is a place to share your sexual preferences or desires. I think I find it quite strange when people because that's what happens. They all get together, and I know it happens, and they find one of the most interesting things to talk about is sex. And I think this is what goes on when you start to let all your guards down. And
yes, we start to let all our guards. We just lost this identity. He said he was going to go into the chat. I thought he had something to say about the subject. So I invited, how many guys do you think we invited in here?
Okay, well, we can read them all out if you like.
Yeah, let's read them all out.
Well, we invited Alex Brown, Heartburn, Crossing Ways, CS Mgtow, Iskander the Bright, John Galt, Kevin Hornbuckle. By the way, guys, I don't know exactly what Traversable's criteria was inviting these guys. I'm just reading out the list. Magnus Deacon, Messenger, Van Kemperer, Turkman, and the leader of the pack, Stacey Black or Stacey King.
Okay, so we have a pretty rounded crew there. Uh,
Yeah.
some guys are probably busy. Some guys I've talked to this morning. I've talked to a few. I've sent invitations to a few guys that wanted to have arguments with me on forums. I place something pretty indifferent to the subject, or I put my thing, my idea, or my stance down, and these guys come back. And we had this with CS Mgtow lately. Uh, we're not out there attacking people here. Well, Messenger's not out there attacking people. I'm not attacking them, but I do leave comments in comments boards. Uh, Marissa Myers is the one that, for the CEO from Yahoo that screamed pedophile, right? So we're not out attacking people, but we get these comments, and especially from Alex Brown, we get Turk, we get Immortal, we get calling us and saying horrible things to us, just but they never seem to come with an argument. So I wanted to bring on all these guys today so they can have their say, so they can talk to me in person. Because when you're talking to me on a chat, you're talking to someone on a chat that has very limited ways to text and articulate. But when you're talking to me as a human being, as a person right here, it becomes very different, doesn't it?
Mm.
And
yeah, it goes that it boils down to, why are people here? Why are people in this forum? Why are people in Mgtow? Why are people making channels? Why are people making videos? And I think for some people, they're not actually here for any serious agenda. They're not here to either address some a mental or emotional or something that they need to within themselves to have some type of a therapy, or even to address other men's problems. I think even though they do say it, well, as soon as things start getting serious, like when you start talking about morality and modesty and drawing the line at certain things that you shouldn't share, and certain things that we don't really want to see and hear about, I think these guys then say, "Oh, you guys are no fun." So really,
you guys are no fun, yeah.
so
And
really,
what it really says, they got no skin in the game, and they're playing with house money, doesn't it?
yeah. I mean, if you're just here just to have fun, then obviously a lot of guys that are here, for a very altruistic agenda, you're not really going to have much in common with them, and obviously they're going to find some of your conversations, some of your interactions are distasteful. And I think really that's where we're at, mate, probably.
Yeah. Okay, Turk just wrote us back. He said, Joe, don't invite me. I don't have anything to say to you. This is the place to say it to me. This is the place to come in and share your view, whether you agree with pedophilia, whether you agree with anime porn, whether with those things that you agree with, and the things that will tear. If you agree with what will tear Mgtow apart, I want to talk about it, because I have something invested in this. I have something invested in Mgtow. And what we were talking about is the guys that don't have nothing invested. They think it's a playground. It's a playground for them to spread their filth.
Well, I think a very good point to point out at this point is, if anyone's been accused of making any division within Mgtow, then surely you should be trying to talk to them or trying to address them. I mean, the very point of accusing someone of making a division, and then you say, okay, well, we're not going to talk to these guys, or we're going to boycott these guys. Well, that's the very essence of division in the first place. So you have to ask yourself, who really is making the divisions?
Right. Who is really making the divisions? Now, Hairless Ape says Mgtow doesn't belong to one group of men. It belongs for all of us, in essence. That's my opinion, and that's right. It belongs to all of us. But I gave and you kind of like the analogy of the little, when I was young, we said we had to be tolerant, and I had to be tolerant of this young autistic kid that was in the family group. And they said, Joe, don't be rough on him. Don't say these things to him. And because he's autistic and he doesn't understand. But one day I'm sitting in front of the TV with laying on the floor, and the young autistic gentleman, it's a male now that is doing time right now. I'll let you know that he's doing time in prison right now. Jumped up on the couch and started emulating WWE wrestling moves with a knife in his hand and stabbed me in the shoulder. And then the adults came and they said, "Oh, Joe, you got to be tolerant." No, not at that point in my life anymore am I tolerant of that kind of behavior, because I do not want to be stabbed in the shoulder anymore. I do not. I have to. If I could take all that back, I would have beat him in the backyard and buried him in the backyard, and that would have saved a lot of people a lot of trouble. This boy went on to be a pedophile, and he's doing time in Tennessee State Prison right now for raping children. These things in life that we forget to do, or we don't have the strength to do, or we're not able to do because someone's saying no, because he's just a little autistic boy, come back to hurt other people. And what I'm saying is, these things that we fail to do and we fail to address in Mgtow will come back to hurt Mgtow, hence hurt 10,000 guys out there, just because we didn't say one thing. We put the one over the many. It drives me nuts. I've had several incidences of this in my life where I just didn't have the strength to say it. And now in Mgtow, I have the strength to say it. And I'm proud of the fact that I have the strength. And I'm proud of the fact that I associate with gentlemen like you, Shining, with gentlemen like with Messenger, that have the strength to say it, to not get hurt by these men anymore. You have anything to say about that?
Perhaps, Joe, it's an indication of a much wider and much more serious problem. I mean, something we always talk and discuss about in this space is the fact that society's decline is coupled with the fact there's no father figures anymore, that fathers aren't able to bring up their children. And perhaps because in a household, in a society, normally the moral compass is the father. Normally the father is the one who's supposed to be the most stringent when it comes to standards and caliber of character. And I think maybe that's what we're seeing these days. We just don't have that culture of fathers saying, listen, this is not right, or listen, this is gonna or you know, and I think you know that it's a general thing that we've got now. I mean, and I think on the internet, in cyberspace, where people can who was it that said that when somebody wears a mask, that's when they speak the truth? And I think this you know, being anonymous on the internet, on YouTube, people start saying really what is, you know, really buried inside their hearts, where they normally would hide it from perhaps the rest of society. You know, obviously some of those things you know, are good and they should share it, and sometimes some of those things are maybe
some of those things are awful.
Subversive.
Yeah, they hide behind the anonymity. I don't really do that. I don't hide behind any anonymity. I'll give you my address, and I'll share with my address anybody that wants to come around here and see what's going on around here. That's because I'm upfront, straight businessman.
But the issue of morality, the issue of you know, when do we cross the line saying, oh, listen, guys,
when do we cross those lines?
You shouldn't say that. Listen, guys, you shouldn't be watching that. And the thing is, I was once of the opinion that no, everything should be open, everything should be we should see them. But these, I mean, over the past few years, some of the things I've seen, you know, some of the things that we know that goes on, we know it goes on, and we know it happens
Yeah.
It shouldn't be, it shouldn't be shared in the form that you take pleasure or gratification out of it, like you take pleasure or gratification out of the torture of an animal or the torture of a little baby. And I know I've seen that. I've seen videos of that, and I wish I hadn't. There's some things I wish that I hadn't seen. I mean, but being told about it, that this happened and that happened. Yes, we need to know the situations or the society that we live in. But when it comes to say, oh, check this out, bro, look how funny this is, and it's a little baby getting his head stamped up, or a little baby with his head blown off, and they're laughing at it, and then they're sharing other, I think, come on, guys, it's time to grow.
Come on. Okay, Turk replies is, we don't have no evidence of this. Do we have evidence of this happening?
Yeah, I mean, everybody that's been, I think everybody that's involved or that's seen these things, I think they know what we're talking about. But
they know what we're talking about. Hangout Gate in itself was evidence, wasn't it?
Yeah, I mean, me personally, I mean, I'm nearly 40 years old, and in my experience, sharing just sharing these things just to tell other people it's going on, I've not found that to be productive.
Oh, yeah.
Because number one, the material gets out. The actual
You're redisseminating. You're so you can't reshare. And I wanted to make that point that we can't reshare what we see because it's redisseminating, and I'm breaking the same laws that the original people are breaking. So
and second of all, the people that are going to find it repulsive, they're not going to change their mind about it. And the people that don't find it repulsive, they're not going to change their mind about it. All that's going to happen is you're just going to cause this this argument, and nobody really gets set straight. But the only thing that does happen is the controversy or the sensationalism that gets out. Yes. But no, I think
that's why I did the video earlier today about the truth is not what some guys are searching for in here. What they're searching for is to win the argument. And that's two separate things. That's a fallacy, isn't it? We're searching for the truth about these things. Some of these guys are just around here to win an argument, and it goes back to the daddy-father need that we discussed earlier this week. And did you want me to go over that idea?
Yeah, I think I think it's a good idea to point that out.
Yeah, because we have a real shortage of fathers in our society. So what's happening around here is we get a lot of these kids that are watching anime porn, and they're doing things that their dad should have told them is wrong. And then they come around here and they have a daddy-father need, and it's the same thing as mother need. When you have one group of people, men and female, if you have male mother need on one side, you have daddy mother need on the other side, or daddy father need on the other side. And some of these men they come to the older men like me, myself, and they want to be yelled at. They want to be told, no, that's wrong. And then they want to rage out at their father or who they perceive as their father, and at that moment, and get that relief. So we see that a lot. And Mgtow, these fatherless young boys want to rage out against a father figure and get that relief, something they never had in their life. And it's very, very sad, and it's very, very concerning to me.
Yeah, I didn't I didn't notice this at all until I mean, certain very, very small channels, they were consistently and constantly badgering some of the more what I think they've termed themselves fathers going their own way. And these channels, they get badgered by a lot of these very immature individuals. They're normally very small channels, channels that just seem to beg for attention. And obviously, like one particular channel, he made like 6 or 7 videos about a certain father. And he was just ignored constantly, and then he just jumped on the bandwagon of whoever was bashing this father. and that's what I've seen. It's like, yeah, I mean, it sounds strange, but I mean, to back up what you just said, I mean, I have seen that. It's like men that are considered fathers, or men or Mgtow that have that have child custody issues, and we advertise that. I mean, all the fathers, we all talk about our cases. They seem to get this specific attention.
Yeah, they get in a specific attention that they desire, and then that seems to quell them for a little bit, but they keep coming back for that specific attention. And I want to say with uh, that person you're talking about and the other person, which is Messenger's channel, he badgered them so much that he had to block them. And then Messenger was accused of, oh, you're just blocking everybody. Turk has another question. He says, you talk about moral agency, Joe, yet you tried to dox Immortal, and he called me hypocrite. Did I dox Immortal?
No, that's ridiculous. Right. The doxing that Turk's talking about there, that Facebook page does not contain Immortal's personal information, except maybe that his name is Ryan.
Anything he put out in public, he put that out in public in view, in saying he's a Mgtow, and he put that out in public. And I'm not invited to Immortal's group there. I didn't ask for an invite into his Facebook page. That's what shows to the public eye. So I didn't dox Immortal, if that's what you're thinking, Turk, and you're wrong about that. But this goes back to this immature argument that you're having about doxing Immortal and all that garbage, because it's not really that. He's just coming back with these same hit points, and it's so irritating, and it's so immature that it's just way out of line. A man of my age and caliber having to field stupid comments from like that. And but we've seen something. One of the guys changed. Let's go back to the Modesty thing. Okay, one of the guys just changed his name to Gobble Gobble Gay. And then the guy that we're questioning here was talking to him online to all the people about what was he going to insert his member into his mouth and gobble it or something. What was that? Was that a homosexual connotation? And this is the stuff they put out along with the porn anime and the little girls with their underwear showing, and then the giggle. It's so freaking immature. It's almost crazy, isn't it?
Yeah, I mean, me personally, I try to stay out of their hair, and obviously, it's nice that they stay out of mine. I mean, I mean, if I wanted to look at these things, obviously, there's websites for that type of thing. But personally, I don't want to see it on such a serious issue as Mgtow, and certainly that's not why I opened my channel at all. I mean,
we're talking about serious issues. We're talking about male suicide, and we just heard the stats this week on white male suicide is increasing exponentially. Cis male suicide is increasing exponentially, and the feminists and they were applauding that, and that's funny to them. And we're losing this battle, and we wonder why we're losing this battle while we're talking about anime porn.
The thing is, a lot of guys they come in and out of Mgtow, or they come in and out of this space, I know, this YouTube space, and I speak to some of them, and a lot of them, they are quite I mean, when Hangout Gate happened, a lot of people jumped ship. They went their own way. They started their gaming channel. They started their what's the word now? Their New World Order channels, and it was a horrible thing to see. This just because of what a small group did. Then all Mgtow are now labeled are labeled as that, and all these channels that were previously doing Mgtow content, they now decided, well, that we're going to close our channel down, and we don't want anything to do with Mgtow because of the sexual deviancy and these things. But it was a shame to see. Like I said, you can't smear an entire. You can't smear all of Mgtow just because of what one portion of it does. But that's what happens. That's just what happens.
But that's what happens. Yeah, we all get attached to that name. Now I see Nan, which is Immortal. He's in now. And I want to ask Immortal a question. What kind of Mgtow do you want to see when you look out on the pages? Do you want to see proud men standing in suits and ties with a distinguished look on their face? Or do you want to see men that are portrayed as sexual deviants, looking at anime porn, sending porn to each other? What kind of image do you want to go out there? Well, you can assist in this image. We can all assist in this image, and let's give you an example of this image that we're talking about. In the 1960s, we had a group of men. They were black men. There were the Black Panthers and the Black Panthers associated with Black Panthers. They were fighting for civil rights. And the civil rights, what did they do when they went out on the street? Shiny, you probably know this question. They wore suits and ties and well-polished shoes. And they portrayed themselves as honorable, decent fellows and gentlemen. Why did they do that? Yeah, they did that because they wanted society to see them as reputable. And then they started taking their issues in reputable courts and reputable areas and arenas where they could where they can be heard as reputable men, not deviants. Because up to that point, they were seen as lesser people. But when people looked at these men, they said, oh, these are respectable men. Look at these young men. They're good-looking, handsome young men. And that's what we want to do. That's what I want to put out there. Is that wrong of me?
I think the fact that we've got our channel on a public space. I mean, YouTube is a public forum. Our material, what we say, it's going to be available for the entire world to see. Anyone that has internet access, and they're going to be able to see it. So there needs to be a level of presentation. We need to. You just can't let it all hang out. Like you can't just like do a video of yourself and just be naked and just be swinging your privates about. I mean that would be considered. Wouldn't it? Wouldn't that be considered unacceptable? Or I would get people saying that's okay.
Yeah, we have some channels that have actually pulled their and done penal exams and stuff like that on the air. What was that guy's name? Apotheosic Divine, was it?
Yeah, I mean, yeah. I understand where you're coming from. I mean, I came into this podcast. I didn't know quite what you wanted to talk about, but no, I can see. I mean. It's
Modesty.
Not Mgtow, is it?
It's not Mgtow. It's not Mgtow at all. It's something else, and I don't know where to label it at. I can say it's just degenerate behavior, or you know what it is? It's no filter, isn't it? Some of these people have no filter. Where do you shut this stuff off at? And it tells about their family situation. It tells about not having a father in their life. And God, I feel sorry for these guys if they didn't have a father.
Do you know what? No. Do you know what the problem is? The problem is not that it's not that they don't have any filter. It's the problem is their filter is subverted, because the fact that they're getting upset, that you're upset, or that we're upset at this perversity, they're upset that we find it perverse. Is it just goes to show you that their limit is
the level of delusion.
Yeah.
Yeah, they're upset. That's what I said on CS's latest. I said they're upset because we're saying that this is not acceptable. They're upset about that, but they're not upset about what they did.
Yeah. So what they consider as perverse, as wrong and immoral, is very, very strange. It's like Uh, I
Yeah, it
don't
is
know.
very strange.
I've given up trying to understand them, and like I said, that they've got their space, we've got ours. But yeah, recently we've been under attack for being too strict, or being too stringent, or being too moralistic. I don't know. What they're trying to.
Right. I'm trying to give these guys a chance to defend themselves too. Not be a keyboard warrior and come on here. And at that point, they all back off like cowards.
Yeah, I mean, did you not invite these guys earlier?
Yeah.
So you sent out the invitations earlier. Yeah, nobody's come on.
Yeah.
Yeah, I
Yeah.
mean,
I tried to get a nice, pleasant blend of men that I know that I invited a few men that I know are honorable, decent men in the society, and I invited all the men this week that descended on my comments, and none of them bothered to show up. Now, really, it's okay to descend on the comments and try to push your point there, but on the air, live, where you can really kind of dig on me. No,
yeah.
they
Yeah, I
because
mean,
what?
you've invited them. Some of them they've even jumped. I know some of them are online. I can see some of them
Yeah,
are
I can see
online. I
them.
mean, they've disappeared.
Yeah, yeah, they're disappeared. They go away when push comes to shove, and when you have to really face a guy like me, or a guy like you, they cower. They cower.
Yeah, I mean,
And
guys,
this,
this is your chance. I mean, is it you got something to say to us? You got something to say to Traversable or me? I mean, we're here. I mean, rather than make attack videos, or make back and forth videos, and which you all agree is detrimental to the community. So stop making the videos and jump on here. I mean, the amount of people I've reached out to, and then they've decided, oh, they don't want to talk. Well, fine, if we're not going to talk, let's not talk completely. I mean, it's very strange. I mean, a lot of these guys who were trying to call us out, I approached them to have a private conversation, and they don't
right?
want to talk to me. So then I'm asking myself, is it that you only want to talk to me when you've got something sensational, or you've got something, what's the word now? You've got something angry to say, and you only say it on a video? No, come say it here.
Yeah, come say it here. It's obvious that and I think a lot of these guys know if they show up, they can't yell, they can't stream. There's a decorum here. We're going to discuss the matters. And is it that back to that winning thing? They're afraid of losing, and it's not being right. They don't care about right or wrong. They don't care about they don't care about getting to the bottom of things, getting to the truth of things. They just want to win on a comment thread, which goes back to that father male need thing.
It's all about having fun for a certain
Oh
group.
yeah,
It's just,
yeah.
I mean, if they're not having fun, if it's no longer fun, then they're out. They don't want to take part, and all the party poopers that have closed it, closed the
Oh
party
yeah.
down, and calling them out for their bad behavior.
Yeah. So now we got the secondary. Let's talk about the secondary thing, or the third thing here. We've been accused of banning men. What do you do in those situations? You get these arguments, and I've unbanned a lot of guys today so they can come in here if they wanted to talk. So one of the big questions, and especially messengers, he says, oh, well, he's just going to ban you if you argue with him. Is there a certain modesty in that too? There's,
Okay,
how long
Messenger.
can you let it go?
Messenger doesn't say he's going to ban you if you argue with him. What he says is, if you're racist, if you're
Right.
calling upon genocide, if you're defaming fathers, because obviously he's a father himself, he knows the sacredness of the relationship between a father and his child, and that's why he bans people. It's not because people disagree with him. So anyone that says that, you're totally wrong. But me personally, I've not banned anyone until I've spoken to them personally. Until I've spoken to them personally, or they've had an interaction with me where, likewise, they've either been racist, or they've called upon genocide, or they've said, something very, very nasty. That's when I draw the line, and even then I say, okay, let's talk this out. I say, let's me and you will go on a podcast, or let's talk this one-on-one. Not until then will I ban them. And unfortunately, there's a lot of people on my ban list. There's a lot of people on my ban list. Because in the end, they don't want to talk about it. When it's no longer fun, when it's no longer fun, when they can no longer, show their dicks and piss on camera, they don't want to get involved anymore.
Yeah, when it's no longer child games, when someone's asking them a real question like we're asking this week, where do their borders lie? And is it a problem with mental health? And I do see a problem with mental health, and it's a hard subject to bridge over here. And I see 3-4 of those guys that were on the list this week. They have mental health issues, and then you can obviously see one of them is clearly autistic, and he's like that autistic knife wielding child that injured me when I was a child, and no, I'm not going to let that happen on my channel. Banned. Some of these guys have no restraints, but the whole world sees it. And is there a group around here that takes in those kind of guys? I know we invited Stacey King here, and whether she shows up or not, that's not important. But we've talked about this with that mental health group that emerged.
Lisa
and then Lisa Emerald. Yeah, Lisa Emerald's group, and she brought this mental health group in, and she was sort of the leader of that mental group. Was she the leader of that mental health group?
Oh, they certainly rallied around her. They took her. They did take her as a. They're not going to like that I say this, but they did take her as a motherly figure. I mean, I know what's his name.
Yes, they did.
Ex-Paladoc, he coined the term with Lisa, but I know they took her as a motherly figure. I don't know what's happened to Lisa's group since then. I mean, I've been well out of that side of it, but I mean, just generally speaking, though, I mean, yes, we do find in society in general, not just in YouTube or not just online, not just in Mgtow, but society in general, they're having very the NHS. The NHS, anyone that works with the NHS, they can look this up. They said by 2015 they would not be able to cope with the mental health issues of the UK, because it's so underfunded, underrated. What's the word now? When it's underestimated. But yeah, the mental health issue in society, it's something that's not addressed. It's something the government's not dealing with appropriately at the moment, and we do get it on YouTube. We do get it online. I mean, you see these guys on all these forums, on all these public forums where you can just say and share whatever words and images you want. You see some very, very sick individuals. They find pleasure in seeing the most the most disgusting things. I've seen like 4chan is one. 4chan, and now they've got 8chan. Yeah. What else is there? There's probably loads.
Yeah. Now we got a turd flinging monkey brings up this issue with egalitarianism, and with egalitarianism we come with care ethics. And like I say, care ethics, you have to go read about care ethics, and I suggest that you guys go read feminist care ethics so you can get the idea in your head. And that's what we're talking about here. We're talking about care ethics. When we start taking in the guys that are sub-mentally par, and we have these groups, what did they think was going to happen with this group as soon as Lisa Emerald left? They were going to leave us to take care of and care for these men around here that have mental deficiencies, have mental illnesses. Now, some of them are very bright gentlemen, and they take their medication as they're supposed to take their medication, and they can come around and have a coherent conversation. But we find on the other end that we've just been a dumping zone for the mental health industry. And that's when we're not qualified to take care of these men. One of the things on Immortal's channel was the one of the men that I pointed out in that was that one of the things that I pointed out was that the guy that he was speaking to was from the mental health community and was on prescriptions. Now, I'm not a psychiatrist, and none of these guys here are psychiatrists. Messenger's becoming a psychiatrist. He's working in school to go to that and try to understand these people a little better. But Mgtow in general is not here to become a dumping zone for the mentally ill.
That's right.
But we're talking about care ethics, so I have to be a little sensitive, and I understand I have to be a little sensitive, but I don't want to get stabbed again.
I mean, there was always that level. I mean, whenever someone came into the community, came into Mgtow, declared themselves Mgtow, we were always quite welcoming. I mean, it's always nice to see new channels. But yeah, but as soon as we started, I mean, like I said, you know, everybody has their limits. Everybody draws their line at one place. But as soon as they started going down a route that we didn't really want to go down, then obviously we started saying, okay, we're not really on the same page here. And I think that's when we started to separate. And you know, let's face it, I mean, it's better to separate on good terms, isn't it? But they get to a point where they want everybody to accept it. You know, they want everybody to say, no, Mgtow should be accepting of what I find acceptable, or what I enjoy. And I think that's where I think you're saying that where the problem is. But yeah, I just wanted to share my screen there just to show everybody. Yeah. We have invited. We've invited Immortal. We've invited World Class Wizard. Turkman was invited. Stacey King was invited. Magnus was invited. CS, John Galt, Crossing Ways, Alex Brown. We've invited all these guys. The room is open. You sent them invites earlier today. They had plenty of time to respond, but no, they're not coming on.
Yeah. Along with that list is everybody I invited on 2 forums today, and I said, come and if you have a problem with what I'm saying here, because on one forum I got 64. As of this morning, I had 64 comments. On the other forum, I had like 57 comments, all trying to somehow persuade me that you know, I should somehow, you know, bury those bodies of Hangout Gate, and that's what we're doing around here. And Kevin says we're burying the bodies. We don't bury the bodies and hide the bodies. They're hiding the bodies, and they're talking in a vacuum is what they're doing there. Here we're not talking in a vacuum. It's out for everybody to see, and we're trying to pose this idea of a little morality and a little modesty and somewhat scientific terms, and at least you know, psychological terms which men can understand. It's not in a vacuum. I invited everybody in, but here we go, you know. And
we were always like that. We were always open. We always had our arms open to everyone. Like I said, if I'm not talking to you, it's because you've done or said something, and you've told me not to talk to you. You've told me to cut off relation. I'm not. So no one can accuse me of being elitist or seclusionist, because everyone that I've now cut off from, I was on good terms at one point. And I don't cut off from anybody that I'm on good terms with, unless you want to cut off from me. So yeah, we were all really good. You know, we were all we had this certain community going. But yeah, guys, you need to have a certain etiquette. You need to have manners. You need to treat each other with respect. And then when people stop treating you with respect, all of a sudden you realize what respect means. No, it's got to go both ways. You've got to respect people to get respect. You know, because I hear a lot. I see a lot of these comments from people, you know, that were very, very arrogant, very, very, very rude. And we talk about racism, we talk about elitism, And these guys, they're racist, they're elite. I'm talking in general, guys. I'm not saying anyone in particular, but obviously, if you're going to be racist, if you're going to be elitist, yeah, then expect people to not want to talk to you anymore. You know, you can't accuse us of being blocking people when you're telling, you're saying all black people should die, all Muslims should die, or you start saying children are, what was it, children are parasites, and fathers should just forget their children. No, there's certain men that don't believe in that, and unless you want to discuss that in a mature and rational fashion, then no, we're not gonna throw a mud and play sticks and stones with you. We're gonna try and talk and engage with those people that want to talk with us, that want to listen to what we have to say.
Yeah. So it's not like we're giving everybody a fair chance, and I believe we keep an etiquette around here. We don't yell, we don't scream, and we've had those incidents, and it was with Turk, and Turk and Mgtow United, where there was yelling and screaming, and that's not this group, because we have an etiquette in this group. We respect modesty and we respect morality. We try not to talk about those things. Sometimes it goes when you invite a guest on. He starts talking about his junk or something like that. And I always cringe a little when that happens. But that's going to happen. But there is an etiquette around Mgtow, and somebody's got to say it.
It's not only Mgtow; it's everywhere.
It's the world. Yeah, it's the world.
The entire world. You don't treat your father the same way you treat a stranger. You don't treat somebody on the bus like you treat your enemy. We all have certain etiquettes. There's always a certain decorum on how you talk with people, how you act with people. And in Mgtow we've got a certain decorum as well. We don't just say whatever we feel like, and sometimes people are like that. Sometimes they just want to offend. It's like they find pleasure out of offending, and then they talk about freedom of speech, and then as soon as you start offending them, all of a sudden freedom of speech is gone. And no, I mean, come on guys, there has to be some sanity here.
Yeah, Element X wants to come in. Is that which avatar is he using? Or
he doesn't have one.
He doesn't have an avatar. Let me see. Oh yeah, would that come up blank? I got the little guy. I got Element ELEMENTX with just a one of those the man with the head thing. You think that's him?
Well, you can invite him in if you like. If it's not him, then it doesn't matter. We can just kick him off.
Yeah, I didn't want to invite the wrong guy in. Element X. If I can find your avatar.
Well, we can send him the link to the Hangout. Let's see.
Yes, we can send him the link to the Hangout. And John Galt has joined us. Hello, John Galt. He's still getting his mic.
He's going to be another non-speaker.
No, John's a good guy. He's going to speak. Yeah. Whoops, he dropped out. He's probably having a little problem with his getting his mic on track and everything. Yeah, we'll send Element X an invitation if he has something to say. And that's what this is about. If you got something to say and you want to come in and say it, whether you agree, whether you disagree. Okay, he says, yep, thanks. That's me. I don't have a profile pic. You can check my channel. Yeah, I know. Yeah, it's easier when we type these things in for guys that don't know how to use Google. There's an invite thing, and you kind of click on it, and then you get all the Element X's from the entire world on there, and then we got to pick the one that may be the right. We don't want to send the wrong one out.
Yeah, I sent him the link to his YouTube channel.
Okay, you send him the link to his YouTube channel. That'll be in the private chat.
Yeah,
on the,
that'll be in his private messages in his YouTube channel if he knows how to access it.
okay, in his comment section. Yeah, he's got to go to his comment. You go to Video Manager, Comments, Messages, and then that'll take you to your private messages where you can talk to people privately. Sometimes YouTube's a little hard to figure out, isn't it?
Oh, YouTube did that on purpose. They didn't want YouTube to become another Facebook. So they made the messaging service purposely difficult to find. So yeah, just go to click on your avatar, go to Creator Studios, click on Community, and then click on Messages. So it's three windows you need to go through.
How's that?
Oh, there we
Oh,
go.
hey, John. Yeah, that's better. Yeah. It's always hard to get on with your mic once in a while, isn't it?
Actually, you know what the problem was? I had the volume turned down.
Oh, you had the volume turned down there. Yeah, it's all these little things, these little sound checks that we forget to do sometimes. Oh God, I know. Last week I had tons of problems with my mic. How you doing today, John?
Not bad, man. How you guys doing?
Not bad.
No, not bad.
We're having a discussion. We're trying
I'll
to
say
get
what I say to everybody when they ask me how I'm doing. I'm old.
Oh. Yeah, I got aches and pains that some of the young guys won't know about until they get old, will they?
No, man. I'm old and I find it hilarious.
Nothing wrong with being old. I mean, if we can all, if we can all be old and still be what's the word now? Fruitful. I think that's what people are aiming at.
I'm very fruitful. It takes me 20 minutes every morning just to scrape the mold off my body.
No.
Yeah, we develop a hard bark. Yeah. So you up on the topic there, John?
What is the topic?
We're talking about modesty.
Modesty?
Modesty, morality, and how it's linked to the Mgtow YouTube scene.
Modesty and morality and how it's linked to the Mgtow scene.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, okay, is there a certain amount of modesty that we need to adhere to in Mgtow? And I believe there is. So
what would you define as modesty? Because
okay, how about doing a video where you strip yourself naked and just whip your cock out for everybody to see? Would that be considered?
Well, in my case, it would mostly be mold. So what's the point?
Yeah, but it would be a little offensive.
That would be immoral.
Yeah, that would be immoral. Yeah, it's offensive to some people. And was it? No, when we talk about modesty, and we're pretty much talking about a verbal sense of modesty around here, and sometimes it goes overboard with the anime porn that gets sent around, and description of art. So if we look at modesty and we look at the description of art, back in the 1700s they put fig leaves over some and they decided in society that there was a certain bar of modesty that needed to be adhered to. We do that around here too. There's a certain bar of modesty that needs to be adhered to, and
you know, I just as a brief response to that, I think what you're talking about is almost a form of etiquette that any guest would apply. Etiquette.
Yeah. During the years of the 2,000, 4,000 years that we've been kind of recording things, one of the things I like to use it's the pork thing. Eating pork or not eating pork. If you go around a family that doesn't eat pork, do you bring pork to that house? Yeah, no, we don't.
Not unless it's invited.
Yeah, unless it's invited. Now, there's a certain ritual in the Jewish ritual. If the family is eating pork, then you're allowed to eat pork. But in this case, the family is not eating pork, so you don't bring that too. There's a modest issue. And we have naan in, which naan goes by the old avatar of Immortal, and naan is in.
Hey, Immortal.
Hey, what's going on?
Hey, Immortal.
Yeah, nice of you to join us.
Nice to join us. And Element X has just joined us, so we're getting some of the guys.
Oh,
now,
it's getting
so we can
cozy
have-
now.
Yeah, it's getting cozy. So it would be proper they introduce Element X and Immortal, and that's one of the etiquettes that we speak about. We'll kind of give men the time to say what they need to say, and there we go. So who wants to start, Element or Anon?
Well, actually, I just got in, guys. Actually, I was overhearing your discussion back there, and I was actually cooking myself a steak, and I couldn't help but to jump in on here. But I caught the tail end of what you guys were saying in terms of some of the infighting and the group dynamics, and also certain things about allowing everybody to pretty much speak their piece, if I'm correct.
Mm-hmm. Speak your piece, brother.
Okay, gotcha. I'm just coming in, so I didn't know if I missed out on anything or not about what you guys were talking about. But personally, from what I've seen, at least a lot in my involvement in the Mgtow community of being a content creator and putting up videos, I recently made a video by saying that I think Mgtow right now is at a turning point where we're going to have the individuals which watch, the feminist response videos, and they're going to be absorbed into that whole little world, and then we're going to have, I think, the individuals that really utilize the network that we have here. I also have decided to personally, I'm thinking about, getting involved with a business project here with another Mgtow. So as far as I'm concerned, I'm utilizing the network, as much as I can, because I think that that's probably the best business partnership I think I could find, is a guy that, not only has coming from certain the same ideologies, but also understands what the situation is and how that relates to business. That's just my view on it.
There's been an accusation. I hope, Joe, you don't mind me picking this up. Turk seems to think that Joe's doxed you. I mean, I looked at that Facebook page, but there was nothing on there.
No. Joe attempted to.
Okay,
well,
okay. It's addressed at me, and what I guess I didn't realize is that a link had been left on my channel somewhere. I honestly, I don't know where it is. When I looked through, I think it was when I did that hour-long video sharing a bunch of new channels. I wrote a note in Facebook that had all the links to it because the description box wouldn't fit them all. So maybe that was the link to my profile that I didn't realize I made public. So I guess it's not doxing per se, since I clearly left the link to my page somehow. But so that's actually not what's upsetting. What really left me paranoid, and of course I'm in control of my own emotions. This is my own decision, but I guess you could say I was a little more than paranoid when the threat was issued. When the threat to reveal more was issued, that really bothers me, and that, frankly, I think steps across a line.
Gentlemen, I do apologize. Is there noise coming from me?
No.
Okay, alright. Because my PC does make quite a lot of noise. My fan's very old, so I do apologize in advance.
No.
Okay, let's field that. So you felt the way it was paraphrased or worded on that was I have a lot more information that I restrained myself. I restrained myself a lot, and that's what I said. I said if I was going to dox somebody, I have the talents to give out names, addresses, phone numbers. I have pictures. I have those talents in life. I'm a private investigator by trade. I could have took this thing so much farther, and that's what I was saying, but I restrained myself. I kept an etiquette about myself. I think that's what I said.
Okay, but why would you even want to do that to a man at all?
I wouldn't want to do that, and I showed such restraint that I didn't do that, did I?
Okay, well, why would you do that in the first place? Do you have a beef with me or not?
I have a beef with the kind of anime porn that's been sent out there.
Oh, okay, all right, wait a minute. All right, now
to jet for one moment. Now,
don't interrupt, Turk. There will
No.
be an etiquette in there. Do not interrupt.
Okay. You don't
Go
have to
ahead,
raise your
Nan.
voice.
All right, Traversable. This is a big problem because it seems you're connecting me with anime porn when when I have clearly shared no such thing. So where are you getting this?
Where am I getting that? Did you look on your page? Little girls with their dresses pulled up, stuff like that. Is that what you want to put out as a MGTOW? Is that what you want every person out there to think MGTOW is about?
What are you talking about? What you showed on Facebook is my Dragon Ball Z stuff. That's the only real anime I share with people.
May I interject?
Go ahead.
Now, Joe, you seem to not make a great distinction. Now, there's a huge difference between anime and pedophile images. Now, there was no pedophile images in that hangout. There wasn't. You know, a lot of the images of no. Let me finish. There was images of mutilated bodies, which is questionable, and I hold my hand up to that. If I shared any, I do apologize. It wasn't right, but I was going through a lot of things in my life. I was very, very screwed up in the mind. I was taking pills that were very destructive and so on. However, you have to please make a distinction between animated forms of art and, real life pedophilic images. And there was none. There was absolutely none. Anime is not synonymous with pedophilia. It's ridiculous.
Okay, here's my point with this. Linkboot disseminated that to the community, and we talked about this earlier. When you disseminate those sort of things to the community, don't you think that there's children watching?
With all due respect, Link Blue, you're talking about an individual that makes videos about calling women cockroaches.
No, that's not the point. That's not the point, Turk.
Well, there is a point. Because
no, there is not a point. We're talking about the images that were shared from there. When they redisseminated those images, I seen there was breasts shown. There was yes, and you agreed that those images were not right.
Breasts of what? Breasts of what? Grown women?
Women with neotenous faces that look like 14-year-old children.
There's plenty of women in the world that have neotenous features, Joe. That tend to, yes,
like 12-year-old girls.
Like
12-year-old girls. Come on. There's a certain etiquette that we act in Mgtow. Absolutely, there's a certain etiquette.
I've dated women that were 25, 20. Then you can't.
You're diverting the topic, and this is what you do. You divert the topic. I don't care who you date.
Yeah, no.
There's an etiquette about that. There's an etiquette about that in here, too. We don't talk about those things about...
Oh, so there's an etiquette where you mock individuals that had past mental issues. That's right, Joe. I'm a man also.
If you have a mental issue, I'm not a therapist.
Yes, yes, but you don't mock people like that. I'm sorry, but that's unacceptable. You talk about etiquette, but you did.
I have the right to choose my friends. I have the right to choose my own friends, and if I care not to bring in mentally disabled people into my life, that's my choice.
Yes, but you don't mock them. You don't mock them for that. So you talk about moral agency, but yet you mock people that have had past experiences with mental illnesses. How's that right?
Because people with mental illnesses generally can't control their impulses like we are talking about here.
Can I interrupt?
Yes, go ahead, John.
I'd just like to ask a genuine question. What mental illness are you referring to?
I had a very severe depression and anxiety and bouts of aggression, but the sad irony was, that was due to the pills I was taking. I was taking very strong antidepressants. I was practically forced because my stepfather, who I'm with, gave me an ultimatum of you either take these pills or you're out of the house. I'd have been homeless. So I was in a situation where I had to take these pills or otherwise I would have gone.
Okay, so just out of curiosity.
No, that's cool. Oh, absolutely, John.
Is it you that was suffering the mental illness or your father?
No, I was suffering it because I was going through a somewhat mild depression because of, I missed my grandmother. My grandmother passed away a few years ago, and I was mildly depressed about that, and then around.
Okay, the only thing that I would add as a caveat to any kind of emotional, mental, or psychological distress
Yes.
is, in that context, it's worth your while, and it's worth the while of any listener, that you preface your communication with that understanding,
Okay.
because it makes
Right.
it much easier for everyone to understand where you're coming from and to apply the appropriate respect to the condition that you're experiencing.
Yeah.
Right.
If people don't
That
know
takes
about it,
that takes spotting, doesn't it? What's called spotting. You have to spot your own mental illness, and then it's your responsibility to regulate your own illnesses on these forums.
Well,
But I see a lot of guys not regulate.
the other side of the coin is, if you make the effort to identify your state to Brother Mgtow's, you have a much better opportunity of potentially gaining their support, understanding, and assistance.
I do understand, John, and I respect that. However, it still doesn't, excuse, making light of a situation which was very severe. And also, I find it hypocritical again, where you talk, of looking after your fellow man and all this stuff, where, when you disagree with them or you have a dissenting view on things, then you go on an attack. You've gone on an attack on me, you've gone on an attack on the Immortal, you've gone on an attack on Alex Brown, just because we're simply different. And we did not share anything now. I mean, the allegations of pedophilia is absolutely atrocious. I mean, geez, I feel betrayed, to be honest with you, as a fellow man.
what
Really?
did someone call you a paedophile?
I've been called paedophile by, I've had, Joe's made implicit suggestion of paedophilia going on in that hangout gate.
Yeah, but
Okay,
he didn't
let's
say
talk
you
about
would.
implicit suggestion. When I mentioned pedophilia, I mentioned pedophilia in the form of disseminating porn to minors, and that would fall under the category of pedophilia. I never called your name. Doing what you're doing is what's called begging the question, Turk. You're begging the question. You're automatically associating that with yourself, and I've never called you out as a pedophiliac. But what happens in these situations is you start begging the question, and that's what John's talking about. You have to control that impulse to beg the question.
May I add something here before it continues?
Yes.
Okay. Just Traversable, I've been meaning to ask you this directly, and now's my chance. You made an accusation claiming that I draw pictures of little girls and beat them, and I want to know where exactly you came up with this, because that is false, and I want to know why you said that.
That you draw pictures of little girls and I beat them. I don't recall saying that.
Well, I have a screenshot of it, and maybe you typed wrongly. I haven't shared it with anybody, but I just wanted to ask about that because you did write it.
You can share that screenshot on here. If you just
if we could see that in context of what we were talking about.
Now, if I may interject, now, define paedophilia. Paedophilia is a sexual attraction of children that are younger than 12 to 13. Now,
Right.
we're talking about being attracted to, young children that are around, well, not children, teenagers that are like 13 to 15. That's a different term altogether. That's not paedophilia.
Really?
Pedophilia would drop under the age of 18 in most societies. The age, if you're dating a 17-year-old girl or you're approaching a 17-year-old girl, that would be suggested as pedophilia still. There's no in most Western societies, and that's when we get into this disseminating porn to minors and stuff like that. There's a vast majority of laws out there that don't seem to be real understood.
No, pedophilia is if you're with a young woman. Pedophilia is before menstrual blood, before having menstrual cycle. That's before.
That's a very vague understanding of
Can I just
pedophilia.
interject real quick?
Yes.
I think this is. I think you guys both have brought up interesting things. And I think, I pay a lot of attention to geopolitics and a lot of the stuff going on. And I think this is a direct result of, I think, something much more larger in terms of the way that society is moving towards. Because I know a lot of the things that we talk about, at least here in the Mgtow community, have to do with the injustice that men have gone through, as well as the feminist issues. But what I have noticed is that a lot of society now, specifically, and I've also heard accusations of which certain people in the gay communities are trying to push for legalization of pedophilia. This is something I think is a result of the society itself heading towards a pretty bad place. Because if you look at this, if there's not enough suitable males or mates for a certain person, then what I think has been noticed is that the reproductive age at which people have sex is younger and younger and younger, because they've realized that because there's not enough suitable mates, they then have to approach a younger mate so that they can hopefully reproduce, or at least that's, I guess, adjusted biology, at least the way that I see society going, which is why you see this ridiculous shit about people trying to legalize pedophilia. I think that this is more of a result of just more, I understand that it's definitely, at least pedophilia in the sense is not a very good thing, but on the other end, it's partly not our fault because of the way that the society is going. Now that does not mean that I support it, I don't, but we also have to look at the other side of the picture instead of just pointing the finger at one person. I think we have to look at the environment itself and how is that contributing to the person's behavior.
Now, physiologically, if a woman, let's say a woman, starts her menstrual cycle, physiologically she is ready for sex and procreation, correct? Now, if you had sex with that woman, is it still considered pedophilia? Because physiologically she's ready to have a kid because of the menstrual cycle.
Well, those who go for social, we have social laws, we have these social things that we adhere to, and that's what we're talking about.
So what are you saying? If she's old enough to bleed, she's old enough to butcher?
That's what he's saying, and that's sick.
Well, I'm not saying that, but I'm certainly like.
I did say that.
I think
that is what is defined. That is what's defined. That's what I'm seeing in Wikipedia.
That's not what's defined. You said that. You just said that.
No, I didn't say. I didn't.
Can I interrupt just for a sec?
In the UK, if I can say, in the UK, the age of consent is 16 years old for both young men and young women. Now, what age? I don't even know what age like the menstrual cycle starts. Around teen years, around 15, 16. I don't know.
For most girls, their menstrual cycle starts about 9 years old.
Really?
Yeah.
I didn't know that.
Yeah. Most girls have their first periods. Depending on it varies from country to country, but in the UK it's normally before 13. In the hotter countries like Africa, it's about 9 years old.
All right, now if I can defend myself there, I did not know that. I did not know that. Didn't know that.
That's
Actually,
okay.
I'd like to ask a question in regards to pedophilia, because there's all kinds of laws, and they vary internationally.
They do,
but
yes.
At some point, every individual needs to define what that means to themselves. And I can tell you in my own experience, in most cases, pedophilia is an act of predation. And it is, and most people have a problem with it because it seemingly appears the act of a predator. So my definition for myself, and I don't give a shit about the rest of the world, my definition for pedophilia for myself is exploiting anyone that is vulnerable to me. And I don't really give a shit whether they're bleeding or how old they are. If they're not old enough to responsibly interact in a relationship, then they're a fucking child.
That's a good point, because when I was in Mexico, there was this girl. She was 13 years old. She was 13 years old, and she was married to this Mexican guy. The thing is, she was married. Now, would that be pedophilia, or would that not be pedophilia? Because this is very big. She was married, with her parents' permission. So her parents married their 13-year-old daughter to this man, and obviously that was his wife. Now,
Okay.
John brings up the point: is that girl being taken advantage of? Because she's
Now,
not. That's his wife.
Yeah,
Well, I don't know. I
socially,
don't think you have enough context to establish that.
yeah, socially in that community, that's acceptable. But we're talking about a YouTube community here. We want to stay on base here, right?
Yeah, but just because it's socially acceptable doesn't necessarily
Doesn't
mean that it's
necessarily
right.
make it right. If you bring that to the YouTube community, which comes out of Los Angeles, is it? Or YouTube is centered in America. YouTube on these forums is centered in America, and we deal with local laws in this case. And you will be, if you bring that stuff here and it gets reported, it will be automatically the response will go back to the local laws in that area, and it will go through an international court at that point, or an international tribunal, or whatever they call it. And on the internet, generally, there are places where you report these things. I put a post up on CS Mgtow's last video about Messenger of where you can report those things, and then they decide that stuff. But generally, it goes back to the local laws in your community. So I live in Ohio, and the local laws in my state are very strict on that stuff. And it's 18 or older. If you disseminate what we were talking about before with they'll actually break it down to areolas and stuff like that. If you disseminate areolas to it, and we had a great case, and I'd like to bring this case up. It comes out of Iowa. I think it was Wesley Amy. Wesley Amy disseminated porn, manga porn that we were talking about, exactly what we were talking about here, to the children in his classroom. Guess where Wesley Amy in America and Ohio is sitting right now? He's sitting in jail for the next year and a half, and he will have to register himself as what? A child molester.
I think to summarize, Joe, I think what Joe's trying to say is he's afraid that this Mgtow community, he's watched grow and he's shared in and he's contributed towards, it's going to get smeared with some unfortunate.
Right.
I'm sorry, but Joe, you don't control who comes in or out of Mgtow. It's not for you to decide.
That is such a lame statement. When I see when I see immoral acts being done in front of me, I have every right to speak out, and that's all I'm doing right here is speaking out. And what you're trying to do is control me to say I can't speak out against immoral acts. You're being the controller. Don't you see that? And that's what we were talking about with this mental illness. You don't see what you're talking about. You don't see that you're trying to control me.
No, you try to control him more through the threat of doxing his real identity. You was controlling him more.
I see immoral pictures resurfacing, stuff that I say in my community, and that's my opinion. And you should respect my opinion. And keep the etiquette of this community. And I think that every man out there would agree that there is an etiquette.
If you're talking about me, Traversable, please address me. What are you talking about?
I'm talking to Turk about what I believe is wrong.
Oh, I thought you had mentioned my name.
I'm not talking about you in general. And see, there we go with that begging the question again. When you associate yourself with them things, you're begging the question, and that's what I get a lot on these threads. People begging the question. I've never ever come to one of your comments ever, and responded to one of your comments. Once I'm done with you, I'm done with you. What I get is Alex Brown and Turk responding to my comments, and then that's a procedural thing, and you start begging the question to me what you're arguing for. Are you arguing to push the bar of pornography on YouTube? Take that somewhere else, because that's not the issue with me. The issue is, what are the real laws around here? What offends men around here? What I want Mgtow to be seen. Do you want, like I said, do you want Mgtow to be seen as the guys that were fine, respectable, decent human beings with suits, ties, and people? We can take this to Congress. Or do you want Mgtow to be seen as a bunch of guys that look at manga porn?
Well,
So-
taking this to Congress, that's exactly why the men's rights movement exists.
Yes, that's exactly why the MRM exists, the men's rights movement. We have to present ourselves in a decent way. Do you agree with that?
Okay,
To even get
so
heard.
okay, so all right. I thought Mgtow was supposed to be a different kind of activism that the MRA was not doing.
You're
No.
talking about the MRA. We're talking about the MRN, the men's rights movement. MGTOW is a subset of the MRM, not the MRA.
Wait, there's a difference? I thought MRM and MRA are kind of the same.
Men's rights activism are men's rights activists. Men's rights movement is the encompassment of the 3 groups or 4 groups or 5 groups that we have.
Okay, so Mgtow should be pushing for legislative change. That's what you're saying?
We should push for if we have a few guys that work in that field, and that's their decision. That's what we talk about when we talk about activism. Now there's MGTOW activism that's similar to MGTOW activism in the MRA.
Your problem is you are trying to define Mgtow in your own way. Mgtow
No,
is
I'm
not.
just
You're giving
what illogical statement? What illogical statement did I make?
for your language, what you're saying. You're trying
My
to define.
language is perfectly correct. I have no problem with my language. I'm very articulate with my language.
Right, but you have this idealism about Mgtow should be this certain way. It doesn't work like that. Every man's going his own way, is he not? So what he thinks should be Mgtow isn't necessarily related to what you think should be Mgtow.
Yeah, and Joe has just told you what he thinks Mgtow is.
Actually, I'd like to rebut that statement, and what I'd like to say is this: you can believe anything you want that you think describes a Mgtow or all Mgtow, but fundamentally the fact of the matter is that there will come a time where your activity online will be viewed and will be censored. No question about it. And at that point, nobody really gives a shit how you fucking define Mgtow.
Oh.
Right. Because you're going to be related.
You will be out.
You will be out, and that's my concerns. That if this thing goes
and
too
we'll
far,
all be out.
we all will be out. It's not just you, Turk. It's me. It's Nan. It's John. It's Element. It's John the Other. It's Barbarossa. It's Stardust. We all will be affected by this.
Yeah.
So,
Can I just interject? I just wanted to say that this is one of the reasons why I've kept a lot of my, just some of the networks, which are not very many, but some of the people here in Mgtow that I really can really get along with. I've decided to keep a lot of my stuff private, at least my involvement with them, because just for everybody's own personal protection, I think. Because if we have an accusation that gets attached to the name, which is why I think we have all this discussion about whether or not the name should be a part of it or not, because if something happens to one of us here, that can trail itself all the way back. I've seen this done before several times outside of the internet, but in real life. So I think that's just my take on that, because I think if we're not careful about what we say, even if it is the internet, we can find ourselves in a lot of trouble, and especially what we see going on out just on the internet alone. That's why I've decided to take my personal view and keep it private, because I think that it's going to get to a point where things just become lost in translation.
Yeah.
Yeah, I don't know if people realise, but Mgtow has actually been banned from. Let me just see, what's that website called? It's been banned from Vimeo, and that was just on hearsay.
So if I were to talk logically, if I were to be correct, my action in the real world, and what I do online is representing what I'm Mgtow.
You're breaking up there, Turk.
You're breaking up.
Yeah, we're losing you, I think.
Hey, Traversable, before we get a little deeper into it, again, you asked for the screenshot. I shared it in the G Plus chat. Did you see that?
I'm looking for that right now. Which G plus shot?
Yeah, let me read it out. It says, you said to Adavanoi, who's that guy with the little girly anime
Oh,
avatar.
okay, yeah,
He
yeah.
said,
So I'm talking to someone else, not you.
You mentioned me by name. Read the last sentence.
Well, go on and read that.
All right, it's Shining. Do you want to read it?
okay, it says, Traversable, you said, I don't invite these men in my group for good reason. They are flawed. We've seen what they do and how easy they fall from grace when a woman enters the room. I need strong, honourable men around me, and that, the last time I looked, was my choice. Messenger is a good man, worthy of praise. Immortal draws pics of little girls and beats them. It's sick, and there's a difference in character.
If I could defend him more, I've never ever seen him draw any pictures of underage children being whipped. I've never seen that ever.
Yeah,
I think also,
you share drawings of pics of little girls.
Yeah, I didn't share anything involving little girls. I shared gore. I did not share anything involving.
Can I say something?
They're drawings of
Right.
little girls. They're drawings
Hello?
of little girls. Hello, Alex. We'll give Alex a couple minutes to get what to say what he needs to say. Okay, Alex, can you?
Okay. Can you hear me?
Yes.
Okay. I'm not gonna. I can't say anything because I've got confidences that I've got to hold. But there's going to be recent infighting that you're going to find about on Saturday. That's all I'm going to say on that for now. But you're going to find out on the weekend. Something's going to happen. That's all I'm going to say. Now, traversance of child pornography within Mgtow. I want to see the evidence. That's what I'm going to ask you. Where is the evidence? Do you hear my question, sir?
Okay. Hangout Gate in itself is the evidence. Let's just stick
No,
with
it's not the
it.
evidence.
Yes, it is.
The mental defect weasel. That is not the evidence. The evidence of child pornography. Hangout Gate. Present the Alright? If you prove me wrong, I'll retract my statement. But you are a liar. Present the evidence of child pornography. Present it.
We all seen the evidence. Every one of us have seen the evidence.
No, you liar. You liar. There was Guru.
Okay, Alex is having some mental breakdowns, so I had to eject him. We've all agreed that see, that's what we deal with. CS, if CS is watching, was that appropriate? Was that appropriate? Does anybody think that that's appropriate etiquette?
Was it appropriate for Messenger to reveal personal information about CS? Tell me that.
Okay, that information, I am quite sure CS shared that on a podcast, or he did share that. I mean, I would need to look through that, but I'm pretty certain that
Shining, he's not stupid. Why in the world would someone publicly admit to assaulting a woman? That makes no sense. He's a smart guy. Why would he just blurt that out in public?
we on Mgtow, when we're on a podcast, we share a lot of things. I'm sure you guys have heard a lot of guys share their experiences. It's not. I mean,
I'll tell you something. If that's Mgtow, if that's telling someone in confidence of what you've done, which was questionable, it was questionable if it actually happened. But if you share personal information that you gave to another fellow brother in confidence that is secret, and you expose it onto the World Wide Web, then that's not a friend. That's not brother. That's disgusting. Disgusting.
I'll use this analogy. Most of us here have employed people, or some of us here have employed people, and you can understand this analogy from both sides. I have an employee, and I tell the employee not to wear a red shirt in public because that's the other person's brand. I told him 3 times. And then I finally say, if you do that again, I'm gonna fire you. So who fired who? Did the boss fire him, or did he fire himself? And I'll argue every time that the man fired himself.
Now, you're still defending it, and that's indefensible. You know, you don't reveal personal information on a World Wide Web unless it's consensual. It's not right.
He didn't reveal information on the World Wide Web. The person that spoke it did.
Yeah, I know that.
That's what I'm saying.
Messenger.
Yes, that's what I'm saying. That's what I'm saying, Turk. Is let's have some etiquette here. What you reveal in this thing will get put out there, and it's not the person that puts it out there's fault.
No, but that was not Clive's decision for that to be revealed. It was Messenger's.
It was his decision to mention it. He put it out there. No one else did. That's the argument that me and Immortal here and Nana is having. Nan put it out there. I didn't put it out there. He put it out himself, and he understands what he did wrong on that.
Mm-hmm.
Put out what?
You put out your Facebook page to be seen by the world.
Okay, all right. What we need to get back to, again, because we're diverting a little bit, is I'm going to ask you specifically. You have leveled an accusation that I draw pictures of little girls and beat them. I want you to show proof of that, because that's false. Traversable, you know better. I have to say, when I first saw that you wrote that, I was very, very mad, and I want to know why you're lying about this, because that is not true.
Were you in Hangout Gate?
Yes, I was present there.
Yes. Were there drawn pictures of little girls that were with heads cut off?
I don't really remember all the images because I wasn't there the whole time.
Zeta X shared them a little while ago. There was pictures of images with mutilated body parts that were drawn, that's simply portrayed as art.
Okay, and did I draw those? Did I share them? Because that's the accusation, Traversable. So you are accusing me of drawing those images.
There's complicity here.
No, excuse me. That's not what you're saying. You have accused me of directly drawing those images, correct?
Directly drawing them.
That is what you have accused me of. All right, let's stay on target. You have accused me of drawing images, animated images of little girls. All right? Are you standing by this?
That you personally sit down and draw images? I don't know what you do in your personal time, but if you're looking at those books, you are representing your thought process.
All right, looking at what books? What are you talking about?
Of drawn images. Are they drawn images of little girls?
Do you have proof that I look at books of animated little girls?
Yeah, that's why I shared your Facebook page.
No, I have no images of little girls on my Facebook page. What are you talking about? I have one bondage image of a grown woman, and all the other images are of Dragon Ball Z. So what are you talking about?
There's a little girl with her dress lifted up with her underwear showing.
Can I just interject? Because I deal with entertainment and media property, and I've had to do with this situation kind of before. Well, I deal with situations in which people prevent intellectual property and original artwork, and they try to get this information put out there. And I had a case once where somebody drew a picture of a woman, and the bottom line is, I asked an attorney this, and I work under an attorney. Is this something that is going to be acceptable? And she says, unless that you can prove that image clearly indicates a certain type of thing, whether or not the age be acceptable or not, it's a drawing, and you can't. A drawing is not a person. A drawing is an expression, and I think that's where things kind of get the blurred lines. But personally, I think if you're going to draw something, then there is absolutely no reason as to which you can put clear evidence on if that is dictating whether or not it'd be an underage girl or not. Now, there are some clear indicators, like if you draw a baby or some shit, but at that point, that gets kind of difficult.
Yeah, that's why I go back to the areola shots. That's a clear violation. Yeah.
Can I ask a question? How many of you guys have children?
I do.
I have children.
So there's 3 of us here that have children?
No, I don't have children. No, I don't.
I don't have children.
Okay, now that goes back to my original point in the first 2 minutes of this video. My 6-year-old, the 6-year-old boy that was living in my house was playing Google Games that morning. with a flip of his little hand, he could have opened that, and then it would have been disseminating porn to a minor. Is that the question, John?
Actually, what I'd like, if you could give me a minute, is I'd like to say a couple of things.
Yeah.
And especially because you brought up this topic of what is it? What gate?
Hangout gate.
Hangout gate. This is the hangout where all of the violence and pornographic crap was being exchanged.
Yes.
And it was all done for shock value and shit like that.
Yes.
Okay. Well, here's my position. Okay, and I've never said anything about this in the past, and I'm probably going to regret saying anything about it now. But here's the way I look at it. I think that the row that was made over it was fucking idiotic. Okay, and I don't give a shit who declares themselves to be pure and innocent, and who declares themselves to be dirty. And I don't really give a shit. What I find amazing is the long-standing conflict that everyone is invested in. It amazes me that all these men find it a higher priority to bring this issue and conflict to the center of Mgtow attention. And I find that I don't really give a shit what people look at. I give a shit what takes place in my own life and the people around me that I support. And to be perfectly honest with you, public media out there, as far as I'm concerned, has already breached the limits. Individuals doing the same thing is of no surprise to me. And I find that the central focus on conflict over this issue is as bad and worse than the actual activity.
Okay, I want to say something on that because I actually hosted the podcast post Hangout Gate. Now, I actually
did. Go stand in the corner.
No, the thing is, the thing is, I took that podcast down because the thing is, people were falling out. And I had a podcast to try and settle things because, there was a lot of mudslinging going about. So I said, okay, guys, let's all get online and let's all talk about this. Now, the thing is, I originally wasn't going to do this. I was only doing it because everybody was talking about it. So I had a podcast when everybody talked. Now, originally
was it your actual podcast that hosted this?
What do you mean, hosted this? No. What happened? There was a channel called Sam Mgtow. Sam Mgtow, he came across a group conversation where he saw a lot of distasteful material being exchanged. Then he
so he was offended.
Disseminated it.
Then he made a video and he shared it with everybody to shame everybody on that podcast. And then that spread like wildfire, and more people started talking about that. Now, I wanted it to calm down. I think Turk, Immortal, everybody understood that I didn't want any more controversy. So I said, okay, guys, everybody that's upset, everyone that's offended, everyone that's got any say on it, let's all get together and let's all talk about it, and then let's all settle it. And it seemed to work for about 2 weeks. Nobody else mentioned it. And then 2 months later, I took that podcast down, and Sam Mgtow took that video down. But I think what the issue is now today is the fact that people have discussing what's acceptable and what's not acceptable in what we share on YouTube, Mgtow, or in our space.
Well, let me respond to what I think what we should share and what we shouldn't share. Okay. It's real simple for me personally, and anyone who wants to invest in the same notion, feel free. It's free. I'm not selling it. For me, it works like this. I have no interest in extending any respect whatsoever to any individual Mgtow who can't respect the brand and the franchise. If you want to shit in your own house, go shit in your own house. Don't shit in mine.
Yeah, and I think that's what
right,
Joe's trying to say. Joe's trying to say.
And that includes guys like Sam Mgtow and Messenger. You want to go shit in your own house? Go do it.
All right. The only thing that I think that I'm still mad about that's left over from all of that is was when Messenger Rising posted a comment saying that I shared pictures of mutilated women and dead children. That really pissed me off because that is utterly false. And I'll
Fair
have
enough. Why
everyone
don't
who
you
was
ask me if I stopped beating my wife?
Yeah, and if I may interject, there was more than one person, sharing these pictures. I wasn't the only one. There was other individuals that aren't considered Mgtow. That this was a general hangout. Like, I always talk about this story. This was a general hangout. We was with Lisa Emerald and another individual.
All right.
Hey, Turk? Turk,
Yes.
we've all heard this before.
Yeah. If we can move on from Hangout
let's
I
Game.
move
don't
on
really
to
give
it.
a shit who was there.
Yeah,
I
let me,
don't care who was there.
let me
Why is-
repose the question here. Let's start. What is acceptable to share? What is not acceptable?
Okay, for example, someone just made a comment on the comment. He says that a cartoon where Bart Simpson is fucking Marge Simpson. Marge Simpson is Bart Simpson's mother. He says that's all right. He says there's nothing wrong with that. Now, I would say there is something wrong with that.
There is something wrong with that, and that's what we're trying to discuss.
Okay,
here.
we just said that.
That's not the kind of Mgtow I'm interested in sharing.
Yeah, now
Right.
someone on the comments has just said, now, you guys need to chill out because there's nothing wrong with cartoons like Bart Simpson, fucking Marge Simpson. And I think, personally, I don't want to see that. I'm with John on that. I don't want to be part of any group.
My response to that is, if you want to shit in your own house, feel free. Don't shit in mine.
Yeah. So that's
And
the point
Mgtow
here.
is a social handle. Nobody owns it individually.
And I think that's what this podcast is about. We're trying to say, okay, where do we draw the line? Should we just draw? Is there such a thing as modesty? Should we be the moral police on YouTube, or should we just let everybody police themselves? I think that's what this podcast's about. Am I right?
You have to understand, you can't control who calls themselves Mgtows or wherever they come into a hangout. They share certain pictures. This is the internet, and at the end of the day,
you can control yourself.
You can control yourself.
Well, I haven't done anything that was, not as questionable. As
Didn't say you did. I just simply said each Mgtow has the ability to control themselves.
Yes, I know.
Okay, we're not trying to. Well, I'm hopefully trying not to pin anything on anybody. Certainly not in this case. But I think generally speaking, I think what we're trying to say is, well, first of all, everybody has to. Turk, you have your own standards. There's going to be some videos, some images where you're going to say, "Oh, hang on, I don't want to see that." Am I right? There's going to be things that you find disgusting.
Yes, I know, but at the end of the day, I can't control what other people do. There are images that I see on the internet that I think are highly, disturbing and questionable. I mean, there's images of, victims of serial killers that are on Google Images that their family members could see. I find that very, very questionable. But at the end of the day, this is the internet.
Turk.
It is what it is.
That's right. You can't control what other people do, and we're not trying to control what other people do. I think, and hopefully I'm not speaking for Joe, but I think what we're trying to say is, you can't be upset that we're upset.
Yeah,
you can't be upset that the fact that we don't want to see this. That guy that says, Bart Simpson, fucking Marge Simpson, you guys shouldn't be upset at that. No, you can't tell us not to be upset at that.
Maybe in his mind he thinks, okay, this is a cartoon, then there's no real life implications. So maybe in his mind it's okay. Maybe in that mentality, you don't know. People are subjective when it comes to them.
I think also, just to interject, I think that what John was saying, I'm sorry, not what John was saying, I actually left the computer here for just a minute and I came back. But we all have the ability to control what we watch and what we say. So if you don't want to see something, then don't fucking see it. And if you don't want to hear about something, you don't see it. And unless you own Mgtow as a group, then there's no reason why you should dictate whether or not somebody can put up certain things or not, because you can't control it, number one. Number two, you don't own the group. And number three, if you don't want to see it, then don't see it.
That's the thing. Mgtow's never been about a collective. So, no one...
Also, if I decide to go and murder my ex-wife, I'm not going to leave a Mgtow calling card. And you're welcome.
Oh,
Yeah.
you know,
And that's
that's
the problem. That's the problem that we are having, and we're going to have. One MGTOW can bring down the whole group. We've seen it with the Rogers murders. They tried to connect that to
Elliot Rogers.
Elliot Rogers.
That's right.
They immediately tried to connect that to the MRM, and we had to say no. That guy was not in the MRM. So and it will happen sooner or later. And I'm telling you guys, sooner or later, if you keep putting pictures of in the band, we're talking about a level here. And what is the level that is legal and what is legal and what is not legal? In my community and in the YouTube community, areolas and naked shots and that stuff, and you guys, I just reported Alex Brown twice for this week, as a matter of fact. He's put pictures of areolas and women with the cartoons with their dresses flipped because he has no restraint, and that's what we're talking about here. Let's cut it way back. Let's cut this thing way back and just not put the anime manga up there.
Well, Traversable, so are you getting me confused with Alex Brown? Because you're saying the exact same thing. You're saying Alex shares pictures of women with dresses that you can look up, and now you're saying I'm doing the same thing. Are you sure you're not getting us confused?
You both are pushing the same level. You're both are trying to push that bar.
No.
I'm saying the bar that I have children. So that was John's question there. I have children and concerned. The state which I live in has a certain bar, and that's the bar I live by because it is law in my state.
The statement that I was trying to make by asking the men in this hangout if they had children or not, the statement that I was actually trying to make is that those who have children are going to see this issue differently, and those who do not have children will not understand or even see the same perspective.
No, I think that's a lie, because I think whether you have a child or not, most people understand that pedophilia is bullshit. So don't tell me that only fathers understand what's right and what's wrong, because that is wrong. Yes.
Really?
Yeah.
So you explain to me what you understand when you watch a pedophile approach your son, because I've experienced that. So you tell me how you understand what perspective I'm in tune with.
I don't understand what you're saying. You and I both agree that pedophilia, that pedophiles are piece of shit people. So how are we different?
No, he's saying
it doesn't condense to an abbreviated definition of a shit person. It condenses more properly into a predator, with behavioral expression, and into a dangerous outcome. Not just a piece of shit person. And that's one of the differences between a parent and a non-parent.
Online, when you disseminate that sort of material, you are inadvertently approaching a child, which can be mine.
All right, disseminate what material? Are you addressing me, Traversable? Because I am not disseminating any questionable material.
he's saying generally, we're trying to avoid putting any accusation, because I know sometimes you can get, I mean, it's YouTube channels, things get crossed over, and I do understand, and I would admit that obviously there's going to be a generalization of a lot of people, and sometimes people are going to get stuck with things that maybe was not them. So let's just keep it, ideological.
In a general sense.
Yeah. Let's keep it ideological.
Ideological. Yeah, we're talking in ideological, and that goes back to begging the question again. When these things get disseminated, let it be. A 14, 15-year-old kid is the same in my eyes as what happens is, I get the feeling that these people are approaching the children with this kind of manga stuff. And then that's how they draw these children in. And the next thing they're doing is they're talking to them. And the next thing that happens is they're trying to lure them away. That's where we have to draw the bar as fathers. We see these people approaching, and we say, no, you're not even approaching. I will not let a person of that character get within 10 feet of my child, and it will go down very violent in real life if someone tries to touch, approach my child, or share a picture of manga or if a person in real life came up to my child and shared a picture of Manga sharing an areola, they would mop him up off the street because I would do such violent things to him.
Well, that's where you and I differ, Traversable, because I stood on the sideline for 20 minutes watching a pedophile speak to my 11-year-old son, and I used that as an educational opportunity.
But did you know he was a sex predator? Did you know that?
I could tell by the way he was expressing himself and the way he was attempting to.
Yeah. Yeah, we all have these bars that we put ourselves at. I personally put myself at the bar of, if it's sexually explicit and it shows an areola or anything sexually explicit, it's out. It's gone. I have the right to remove those people from my life. But what you guys are saying is I don't have a right to remove those people from my life because, and I still have the right to say anything I want, no matter how crazy or how crazy you perceive it as. But I'm trying to protect children here, and the bar for me is manga porn. Now, you can say that the porn, the manga that you put up is not manga porn, but it's approaching them limits.
Okay,
so that's where
Who are you talking about? Who is disseminating manga porn in Mgtow? Let's name some names. Who's doing it?
No, let's not name any names.
I'm confused here. Do you correlate, pedophilia with, drawn images of, pornography? I don't understand.
No, okay. Okay. For example,
you're approaching that. You're approaching a child with that when they disseminate that. It's approachment.
Let's put it in a different context. Turk. Do you know the anime Crying Freeman?
I've never watched Crying Freeman.
Okay, you have seen Yorotsuki Doji though.
Yeah, I've seen that. Yes.
Yorotsuki Doji. Would you say that was suitable to under 13s?
Absolutely not. But I'm not showing that to under 13s.
Okay, let's not accuse anybody of anything. I mean, I think Immortal's shown that there can be confusion when names are brought up and this guy did this. Let's not accuse anybody of anything. But you agree?
It's a hentai for over 18s.
Yeah.
So I'm not going to show that to anyone under age 13. That's ridiculous.
Yeah, it is ridiculous. But would you not admit that 13-year-olds do watch? I've seen Yorotsuki Doji.
Well, then the parents have failed them, haven't they?
Yeah, the parents have failed them. Yes, thank you, Turk. And I think that's Joe's point. He's saying that somebody at some point should have prevented, these 13-year-olds from seeing such.
That's the parents' responsibility.
That's the parents' responsibility. So where are the fathers?
Where's this going?
I do. Yeah, I'm allowed to do that. I'm allowed to sort these people in my life. I'm allowed to call this stuff out and say this is inappropriate for my child to watch. And that's what I do. But I got these people around here that says, no, you're not allowed to do that. You're not allowed to decide what's appropriate for my children to watch, and I'll regulate that for you. And all I'm asking is, Mgtow is don't drag us all down.
Okay, I don't think that's what you're saying. You're going after specific men and calling them sick fucks for what they watch or what they do. You're not talking about protecting children. You're going after specific men and accusing them of stuff they're not doing.
Yes, that's what I'm doing.
Why are you doing that? Why are you doing that
individuals that it's not false. I'm going after individuals that I think have crossed that bar.
Okay, and why am I one of those people?
Because you crossed the bar.
I think the problem
No. Shining, he is accusing me.
All right.
I'm going to get to the bottom of this.
Okay.
All right, how have I crossed the bar? I want to hear it.
How have you crossed the bar?
Yes, tell me.
You're with that manga and your fetish for fetish and your SBMD fetish. Your manga, your mental health community. You don't think that's crossing the bar of what's appropriate?
My manga is Dragon Ball Z. Okay, Dragon Ball Z was being aired on Toonami and Cartoon Network. Children could fucking watch Dragon Ball Z. So tell me how Dragon Ball Z crosses a line.
push it from there.
Where did the mental health come in anyway? I don't understand. Where did this correlate now?
Because people with mental health conditions cannot regulate their self-control.
Yeah. Well, that depends on the illness, doesn't it?
Well,
I mean,
it depends on a lot of things in life. But
the individual, hypothetically, if this individual has schizophrenia or has psychosis, then you're right. But there are many people that have had mental illnesses that, go and end up having there's many people that, that have had mental illness that end up becoming geniuses. So I don't understand the correlation.
If I can interject at this point, I think the problem is with Turk and Immortal, you've been lumped with that lot. You've been lumped with the with those guys that do those things. Now, I've not been watching what any of you guys have been doing. I've not been watching what's been happening anywhere except for a few channels. So you'll excuse me if I'm not up to date with what's going on. But I think the problem is Turkman and Immortal, you're lumped with that lot, ever since, whatever Hangout Gate and what's been going on. You've been lumped with that lot. Now, that's what I think's happened. That's all.
Yeah, well, that's not fair. That's not fair then, is it? Why can't we deal in facts and evidence instead of just saying, well, because you're in a place, y'all are guilty of the same thing.
Guilt by association. Guilt by association.
Can I interject?
Go.
Can I interject?
yes, good.
I've actually been watching both Turkman and Immortal, and both you guys have probably noticed my comments here and there and spread around.
I admire you. You're very intelligent.
I have not seen one thing that I would criticize from either of you guys.
Thank you.
Not one thing.
Okay, well, I mean, Traversable, is your problem the fact that I am members of BDSM communities on my Google Plus page? Are you saying I need to leave those groups? Those groups are for adults,
I'm saying leave those groups where they are. Don't bring them here.
Okay, I'm not.
You sure did.
What are you talking about?
You aired that on public on your Facebook page.
No.
And you put that. I've seen your YouTube pictures. You put hundreds of BDSM things in there, and those I can't. Somebody had taken a screenshot of that page of yours where you had all your pictures and your YouTube page, and some of that stuff was really lewd. It was really lewd. For you to say that you didn't do that is just, it blows my mind.
I didn't. There's only one bondage image on all of Facebook. The rest are anime.
That was after,
and maybe a few memes.
Yeah, anime for a grown man, really.
What's the problem with that? You're saying a grown?
Are you a kindergartner? Are you a kindergartner?
No, that's good. No, Turk.
Do you have mental health issues?
Turk, let him talk. Okay, so
do you have mental health issues? Do you have mental health issues?
No.
Are you a kindergartner?
No.
Act like a man.
And so men are not supposed to watch anime, correct?
Right.
Okay, good. I'm glad we have that on record. Thank you for saying that. All right.
And every day of the week, that will be my decision to make for myself.
Okay, that's
I
good.
think you're an immoral person. I think you're an immoral person, and that's the bottom line of it. You brought that stuff to Mgtow, and you painted it all over Mgtow, and then you deny that it's there.
No, I don't deny that my love of bondage is there. I've made that public. But if you're accusing me of sharing pictures of little girls in sexually suggestive positions, that's a lie, and I am very, very upset that you would accuse me of that. That's really where the anger is coming from.
You are aware that BDSM is between two consenting adults, that enjoy it.
Do I need to make another video and put those pictures up there?
Okay. Well, can I just say something quickly? I mean, because obviously only Immortal and Turkey's there, so I can only address you. Okay. I think you'll agree that we can't.
I'm still here.
If I might interject, JGG, is it okay to invite him?
Well, that's just going to excess. Well, let's just keep up with this subject, and then maybe if we've got time at the end, we can address whatever's going on with him. But Immortal, if you go to your G Plus page, or if you go to your home page, obviously a lot of people are sharing stuff on your page, and you can see it. And probably if you go to any of ours, whoever is linked with our circles, we can see that. And obviously, not necessarily everything that's been shared on your page is by your knowledge.
Now, this BDSM thing, BDSM, yeah, it's a lot of people enjoy it. There's women that enjoy getting slapped and spanked. I mean, why is that? No. Consensual, I don't see the issue here. Why is that such a terrible, immoral thing?
What does that have to do with Mgtow?
You're insinuating that BDSM's bad, and you're vilifying Immortal because he likes BDSM.
BDSM is a clinically described illness.
That's debatable.
It's debatable by who? I can look at.
Very good.
I'll give you I'll go get you the code if you want the code. Do I need to put the code up there?
What code? I mean, I know it's debated. There have been studies released saying that people who practice BDSM have better mental health. I mean, this is being debated.
That's from the BDSM community. From the psychiatrist community, it's a fetish and it's coded as an illness.
Okay, I'm telling you, there are other psychiatrists that are arguing contrary to that.
Well, I mean, there's individuals that enjoy just vanilla sex, but they have mental issues. So that's a poor equation.
Can I ask a question?
Yeah, please do.
What's wrong with adult content Mgtow and then regular Mgtow?
Okay, I can answer that one. In adult content Mgtow, it would be done. Let's look at the art. Art within a private room, within a private center where there are no children allowed, you can increase, like in a theater or on a movie. But on a movie, you have ratings, PG, R, and then it's that it's so if you're gonna disseminate that stuff in a private room with all adults, that's okay for you guys to do.
Okay, but see, that hangout you keep bringing up, Traversable, was private. It was not being shared live. It was not being broadcast.
But it got out live and it got out broadcast, and there were children under 18 in that hangout, wasn't there?
What are you talking? Who?
I think what upset a lot of people also is the fact that hangout had the Mgtow brand attached to it.
It had the Mgtow brand attached to it too.
I don't think Mgtow was attached to the title. It was an off the record. Anyone was invited. It was not a Mgtow themed hangout whatsoever.
There were two children in there under 16.
Who was running the hangout?
I don't know. I came later. I know. I just know there was a bunch of random people in there. A few of them weren't Mgtow because it was not a Mgtow related hangout.
Yeah, well, I don't know. Well, there was an incident where,
if any individual who participated in that hangout used the Mgtow franchise brand, it made it a Mgtow video.
Yeah, they were all Mgtow. They were all identifying themselves as Mgtow.
The problem, the thing we're trying to address here is there's guys that are very, very positively Mgtow associated. And often, yes, they have private conversations. At Google Plus, it's quite a big thing now, and they invite their friends and their friends' friends that may not necessarily be Mgtow, and then they bring in very questionable material, and all of a sudden the conversation's gone to a more, should I say, light-hearted, a more open, very liberal type of a conversation. And yes, nobody's there talking about any of the Mgtow issues, and they're sharing, some of their sexual preferences. They're opening up about some of the things that they enjoy. Now, other people that are going to get joined in, and sometimes these conversations, they open up, to hundreds of people. Turk, Immortal. You can be in a hangout with of a hangout box with hundreds of people in, and then that a lot of people then get see what's shared and talking in that box, and quite often they're not talking about Mgtow related stuff whatsoever. But some of the things that I shared in there, it's a lot of people are gonna, the general public are gonna find offensive. Let's say.
Okay.
Can I make a suggestion?
Yeah.
The most positive outcome, and this is my personal position, I don't want to limit anybody's discussion. Like, as far as I'm concerned, you want to talk about BDSM, go for it. You want to talk about anime, go for it. You should be able to, especially based on an exchange or discussion. But if you want a positive outcome from any of this crap, get together, solicit YouTube to provide censored channels, because I think it's more their responsibility than it is for the individuals or for the groups.
You can also like when I released my videos that were BDSM themed, I set them all to 18 plus, so no one below the age of 18 could view them. So I don't know what else you can do, or I'm not sure what else I can do.
Exactly, and a hangout should be you should be able to mark a hangout as 18 plus.
Then what's the problem if there's a age restriction on those particular videos to only 18 or above?
Yeah.
If there's an age restriction on the hangout, and if there's an age restriction on the material, and you can apply that restriction, then there should be no problem. It should be like open territory.
There's no age restriction on Hangouts. There is age restriction on YouTube channels, but all that means is when they ask you what your date of birth was, you just put over 18. That's all it means. And obviously we all know when we were 13, 14, when 13, 14-year-olds going on the internet, they're not going to say they're going to put the 18.
Again, that's
but if the hangout is labeled as age sensitive and the material is labeled as age sensitive, you can't be criticized or condemned when you label it as age sensitive.
Yeah, and if those kids are determined to lie about their age so they can view it, that's not on the content maker. That's on those kids for lying and being determined to access it. That's not on the content maker at all.
Exactly.
It's also on YouTube.
Not the fault of the individual that makes the content. It's the fault of either the parents or the persistent curiosity of that child.
Yeah, okay. But you understand that there's going to be a certain area of men that, for example, have children of their own that are going to say, I don't like this, or I don't find this relevant to Mgtow, or I don't want this on a Mgtow channel. Would you understand? Would you accept that?
Well, look, I wasn't the one responsible. I say this again, I wasn't responsible for adding any of the Mgtows into the Hangout, so you're going to have to ask the individual that is responsible. Yeah,
no, but just generally speaking, just generally talking.
Yeah, please repeat the question. Repeat the question.
Would you understand that, for example, now, Immortal, I'm not attacking you, don't see this as an attacking, but because you brought up the example of, he made some BDSM videos. I'm not saying that's right or wrong. Don't get me wrong here. I'm saying that would you understand that there's going to be certain Mgtow channels that are going to say, oh, this isn't relevant to Mgtow. He shouldn't have put this on his Mgtow channel. For example, would you understand?
All right. Well, you know what? You don't have to worry. You don't have to worry about me anymore because I'm not a member of the community. When I re-release my old videos, Mgtow will not be in the title. So whatever I do from now on, it shouldn't damage the community whatsoever.
I didn't want to offend you there. I obviously I used your example because you brought that up. But I'm saying
no. I left a while ago. Once the false accusations started, I left. So yeah. I'm not going to be a sore spot in Mgtow. I'm not even going to mention the acronym anymore. Okay.
Oh, okay, but would you understand? I mean, my point was, do you understand that there's going to be a group? Yeah, obviously, I'm not saying they're right or wrong, but I'm saying, would you understand that there's going to be a group that's going to say, this is not relevant to what we're talking about?
I do a lot of things in my real life that isn't relevant to Mgtow. I go out, I go to the gym, I watch anime. I do things that aren't relevant to Mgtow. Am I considered a non-Mgtow now?
No, that's not my point. My point is, if you start putting, for example, if I start
content creator, yes, content.
For example, if I started talking, if I started making videos about a religion, I'm saying, okay, listen, this is the church I go to, this is the temple I go to, and this is what it says in the scripture, and this is what happened on the day of judgment. I would get called out. People would be saying this is nothing to do with Mgtow, and I would understand that. And as Mayor said, Mayor's actually made a point. He's saying if you're going to do stuff like that, make a separate channel. For example, there's guys that are talking about what's that guy? What's that guy? He says that diversity is a word for white genocide. There's guys that are making Mgtow videos, and there's another. I get reminded of this guy all the time. He's saying that black people are the problem with society. He's making Mgtow videos saying we need to get rid of all black people. This is what this guy. Now, would you say that this guy should remove Mgtow from his what's this called? From his videos? There's a guy making videos like this. I can link you to this guy.
Again, you don't. It's up to that individual. You don't control what people do on the internet. You can have grievances. At the end of the day, you're not going to stop that individual from having that acronym. Are you?
Yeah, but what I'm saying, Turk, I'm saying, would you understand that there's going to be guys that are saying this is not what we're talking about? That's all I'm trying to. That's the only point I'm trying to make. I'm saying, do you understand that people are going to be distancing themselves from this?
Well, you know what's interesting? Before Hangout Gate, I had 3 videos about the BDSM subject, and no one gave me grief over it. It was only after Hangout Gate started, or Hangout Gate happened, that my sexual preferences became a problem. So I just want to put that out there, that when I made those videos before, no one was commenting saying, how is this relevant? Stop wasting time uploading this. I never got that.
Yeah, but do you see that segment of the manosphere, when they came across it, they obviously didn't come across it before, but that's the point. Do you understand that there's going to be people that are going to see it that way?
Wait.
Yes, I see.
Louis Marco is a MGTOW, and he makes content about bodybuilders. So in that logic, there's something wrong there.
Yeah, but he's got a separate channel for his bodybuilding.
No, he's talked about Mgtow on the same channel as he talked about bodybuilding.
Yeah, Louis Marco has got 3 channels. He's got one called Ask Louis Marco. He's got one Louis Marco, and he's got a bodybuilding one. Yeah, yes, he has aspects in all 3, but he focuses on Mgtow on his Ask Louis Marco channel.
Now health issues. What you're saying is health issues are not Mgtow?
What, are you talking to me?
Yes.
We're
talking about male health. Working out.
Very good, but Mgtow is so ambiguous. Then it could mean anything, couldn't it? There's no clear definition.
Not really.
Okay, then what needs to happen for anyone to step forward and say this content is acceptable or unacceptable? Mgtow needs to have a strict definition. But until that can happen,
it doesn't.
Why not?
It's a real simple issue, and I can assure you, I've been plugged into this stuff since 2001. I've been viewing this stuff for the past 15 years. I've been around probably longer than a lot of people. And here's what here's what I see. I see the lack of ability in the Mgtow movement to define its cosmology. In other words, it seems convenient to label everything Mgtow, but there's no subcategory. And that's one of the problems with Mgtow. That's one of the problems with Sandman's material, is he doesn't categorize the issues. Same problem with Thinking Ape, same problem with Barbarossa, same problem with a lot of guys out there. They don't categorize their material. And in fact, even Hangouts should be categorized as health issues, personal interest, hypergamy, male suicide. It should be categorized, and it's not.
Yeah, there are certain issues that just kind of fall in the Mgtow guidelines. That's I expect
should
everybody
still be categorized.
Yeah, like health issues, and we're talking about male health issues, and that's very, very Mgtow It's just a part of being Mgtow that should be understood. What we're talking about is pushing the bar. How far do we push the bar? What three did you mention? That it's just kind of common sense that those are.
Is it common sense for the guy who's just being introduced to Mgtow? Because if
he may be a little confused, yeah, because
exactly.
that's on his learning curve. He's got to have a learning curve there.
Sure, and it's for those guys, Traversable, that it's worthwhile for the Mgtow content producers to categorize their content, because it makes it easier
we all should categorize.
It makes it easier for transitional men to be able to find material that's more pertinent to what they're dealing with.
All right, what is Mgtow trying to accomplish?
What is Mgtow trying to accomplish?
Yes, because you said now it's a subset of the MRM, so it's a movement. Its goal is to achieve something. So what is Mgtow trying to achieve?
Yeah, we all fall under that. Yeah, that general umbrella of men's rights. We're trying to achieve. Well, if you're looking at the men's rights, we're trying to evolve in freedom. Paternity, equal abortion rights. That means financial abortion.
You're correlating that with the MRA. The MRAs, that's the MRA's job to do that, not Mgtow.
That's we all fall under the broad category of MRM. If you're not an MRM, then you're pretty much not a Mgtow. I mean,
what?
Okay, all right, hold on. So the MRA has a strategy for dealing and reaching the solution. What does Mgtow do differently than what the MRAs already are doing right now?
Well,
personally, I think Mgtow is much more focused on self-awareness.
Self-awareness, yeah. We're trying to be individual. We're trying to be men without being filtered through the gynocentric.
Okay, well, I've heard MRAs talk about the same talking points that Mgtow does. So how are y'all different?
How are we all different?
Yeah.
They're saying tone it down. They're saying we're not allowed to. They're getting married, and that's one of the presuppositions, right?
Not all of them. No, I know a few MRAs that are dating marriage.
They're dating in traditional fashions.
That's not true. I know plenty of MRAs who advocate
it's not all or nothing here. It's some may, some that, but most Mgtows will agree that dating and marriage is a ritual that marriage is a ritual that's a traditional ritual, and we avoid those things, and that's one of the things we can agree on.
Yeah, I think the men's rights they're more accepting of gynocentrism. I think in Mgtow we're a lot more aggressive towards gynocentrism.
This is a good point too, because it's MRAs telling Mgtows what they can do again, what we're going to accept and what we're not going to accept. We're not going to accept getting married in traditional ritualistic dating, which leads to tribalism and them things.
I'm gonna have to jump out now, guys. I apologize if it's a bit premature, but I also apologize if I've upset anybody or offended anybody. Obviously, this was just supposed to be a ideological discussion, and I was hoping that we weren't going to bring up any dirt, but obviously it was going to.
I'm offended, Shining Light. I'm going to have to get my sunglasses.
I'm sorry about that. Okay, but hopefully I'll speak to you guys at another time, and I'll probably listen to the rest of this when I'm probably tomorrow. It's getting towards midnight for me. I have to get up in the morning. But you guys have a nice one. All right, guys.
All right, later, Shining.
Peace, guys.
Be good to yourself.
Bye.
Okay.
See ya.
Yeah, there is a separation, and John would probably, you've been around since 2001. You say I've been around since about that same time as an MRA and an MRM, and I've seen the differences in Mgtow. It's why we started Mgtow, because there are vast differences in our ideology.
I'll tell you something. I was around when a voice for Men started. I have about 35 articles published on that site under another name. And at the end of the day, here I am.
Yeah.
I identify with the Mgtow moniker.
Right. Yeah. There was just certain things that attracted you to it that we seen there is a difference. We seen there is a difference, and we came here. No matter what that difference is for you, we seen there is a difference. But let me see. That goes back to, you know, the MRM is trying to tell us what we can do, and that's the same point. If I decide not to take some certain men into my area because I feel that it's that's my right. I can do that, and it's your right to start your own individual little group, and it's my right to complain about that own individual little group if I see what I perceive as misinterpreted ideas of Mgtow, or we all have that right. But the last question I'd like to ask here is, what bar do we put on that? And that's what I'm asking you. What bar do we put on those things?
Can I answer that?
Yeah.
Here's the bar that I put on it. I don't think anybody in the Mgtow movement should be limited to what their interests are, their concerns, their issues, their pain, their pleasure. I don't think any of it should be limited, but I do think it should be categorized.
It should be categorized. Okay. And a question: if I see a picture of a young woman showing an areola, do I have the right to be offended?
Not if you've been warned that it may, in fact, be there.
Yeah, that's a problem too, because when I invite people into my G+ page, they just kind of start posting, and then I have to ban them. Now, that's another issue that was brought up. With CS and Messenger, that Messenger bans those people. I also ban those people. If a picture of an areola comes up on my G+ page, I ban them.
Well, my personal impression, Joe, is that the next evolution to challenge Mgtow is to be more responsible with their content and to start to build those categories
Be more responsible.
and increase our freedom. I have no interest in shutting up Turkman or Immortal. I want to hear what they have to say. But if the content that they're approaching is something other than mainstream Mgtow philosophy, give it a category and let me address it in that context.
Right, yeah. Now this brings up the category of, you put Mgtow on your stuff, and then you put it on, if someone puts it on some stuff that's really not Mgtow.
See, I actually have a lot of respect for the Mgtow movement, and I do not use the Mgtow moniker on anything that I do. I acknowledge my respect continuously for the Mgtow brand.
Right. Right, I do that with my opening. I'll pick when I do my opening, you'll notice that I do my opening hello men, and then I'll say hello Mgtows, and then sometimes I'll include hello MRAs, and then sometimes I'll just say hello men, and I won't include Mgtow in that because that's generally, this is not a Mgtow topic.
Absolutely. And you'll notice that my name is John Galt. It's not John Mgtow Galt or Mgtow John Galt or anything else. It's John Galt. And I, for the most part, I approach the Mgtow community with as much respect as I possibly can.
Yeah, as much respect, and that's all I'm saying, is approach the Mgtow communities with as much respect and decency as you can, because it will influence, and it will be seen by other Mgtows, and we are in a community here, and I hear this argument all the time that we're not in a community, but we are a community. If we push this thing too far, and some men will put this thing too far,
Joe,
who's gonna police it? Yeah,
Joe, let me just say, the next, I really believe the next evolution for Mgtow is to start to categorize their content. I don't want to limit any man to his pain or pleasure. Everything should be open for discussion. But we can do that, and we can do that with categories, and we can
Right,
find that freedom and award that freedom to ourselves by using categories of reference.
Categories of reference. Yeah, we can do that. Well, if you make a video and it's sports, you can label it sports and G-rated. We have these references already in NR, G, GR, not appropriate for children, stuff like that. We can use those.
Absolutely.
I mean,
I
in
think
society,
one of the
yeah.
limitations, I think one of the limitations that is actually hurting Mgtow is the fact that we don't have categories and we don't have adult content designated to adult areas. And I think
Right.
that once we do that, you're going to find an explosion of male interaction that has not yet been seen.
Yeah, so well, we can do that. We can put 18 or over, and I think one of the options is 16 and over too. In your G plus, you can put 16 or under, or not appropriate, or you can hit that little button down at the bottom of your page, which totally filters.
Absolutely.
Absolutely, we
I'm
can all do that
actually
and be much more responsible.
I actually have no interest in limiting dialogue. I want to see it grow and expand into as many areas as possible, including sexuality and everything else. I want to see that kind of growth, but I want to see it done responsibly, and I want to see it done safely for those who participate in it and for those who may or may not want to participate in it.
Now there's the question of blame shifting here too.
It's
And
all
I
my
wanted to get
fault.
in a little bit on blame. Yeah, blame shifting. Uh, Blame shifting is when if someone would disseminate some kind of lewd or vulgar thing, and then he says, "Well, you didn't filter that." That's blame shifting.
Well, I think once you develop the concept of categories
Yeah.
and age-specific reference to those categories, the blame shifting kind of evaporates in the air because
Yeah.
it becomes the responsibility of the participant.
Yeah, it becomes the responsibility of the participant and the responsibility of equal duties there to if someone doesn't properly
To the
put
provider.
it's going to go out to the community, and then you gotta be able to properly put 18 or over if you need to put 18 or over, and then if you don't put that in there and send it out, you can't blame the guy that got it.
Absolutely. Listen, there's
Absolutely.
nothing I would love more than to have a discussion with Immortal about 135 dead Canadian citizens, 135,000 dead Canadian citizens that die specifically as a result of asphyxophilia.
Oh, yeah, I kind of see where you're going there.
And why that occurs, because
Why that occurred.
that's directly attached to BDSM.
That's directly attached. We've seen that recently with the karate kung fu guy.
Yeah, I didn't see that.
Yeah, what was his name? He used to do kung fu, that show. David Carradine. Yeah, David Carradine. Yes, we've seen that exactly with David Carradine. There was an issue with that about what was disseminated with that too. I remember that very well. It's it's a problem, and it's the responsibility of me as a father to make sure that my children don't see that, and it's also the responsibility of the producer to put tags on there so I can see what I should censor. But if I can't see what I'm censoring, I have no choice in that then.
And the answer to that problem, the answer to that conundrum, is to categorize the material.
Categorize the material, yes. And I think we can all agree on that. And I think that's one of the things that we can take from this hangout and all agree on that. If we categorize our material properly, then
we're just acting more responsibly.
We're acting more responsible. And and in the secondary thing with what you bring to Mgtow and how you, I want to see Mgtow be taken seriously. And I think you want the same thing, and I think Immortal wants the same thing, and I think Turk wants the same thing. We all want to see what we work on here to become fluent in society, and the ideas that we pose about men's rights and the ideas that we pose about our freedom and our individual freedoms and not being slave property anymore. We want those ideas to get out, but if we don't watch what we do, and we don't start categorizing, we don't stop pushing these limits of morality, then no one's going to take us seriously.
Well, I think what you'd probably discover if Mgtow was to actually start categorizing their material,
yeah.
I think what they would discover is that there would be a lot of crossover of that material with PUA, MRA, masculinists, and probably to some degree, though I'm loath to say it, feminists.
Feminists, yeah.
But unless we categorize it, we're going to be piling all of our material into a common pot.
Common pot.
And whatever you're exposed to is the result of that common pot.
Yeah, yeah.
But if we categorize it, and listen, one of the complaints put out, for example, by Dusk, Thinking Ape, is the amount of content produced by Sandman. And that problem could be circumvented by categorizing the fucking material.
Yeah.
Because then, well, the viewers that are coming online would start to learn that they can access the material through categories rather than through the Mgtow general moniker.
Well, it seems like this could be fixed by specific titles and arranging videos into playlists and sharing the playlist.
You got it, man. You got it. And then when someone does a YouTube search, they can search for categories like suicide. They can search for categories like male isolation, sexuality, all that kind of stuff. And it's going to take them to the issue rather than the identity.
All right. I mean, that's a great idea, but what incentive does Sandman have to do that?
I know where he lives.
Winning as Sandman wants to win this thing, and
he can still win by categorizing his issues, because he will appear in that variety of issues, and those issues transcend that brand of Mgtow. And it's also a way of protecting the brand of Mgtow by diversifying into categories.
Yeah, we can all agree that protecting Mgtow is very important.
I think that I don't think you'd get a big argument from Sandman. He strikes me as a pretty sharp guy that can read the market and see a benefit and recognize it when he sees it. And I think categorizing his material, I think he'd immediately recognize how that can and will benefit him. And it'll benefit everyone, because it gives everyone more of a equal playing field.
Yeah. So how do we begin to enact this? We've had the discussion, but YouTube's not going to give us a way to do that, the way to categorize. Are we individually going to have to start calling people out and saying, no, that was an NR video there. You should have placed it.
I think that the best way to introduce the idea is to talk about it. Yeah, make a video about it.
Right.
Promote the idea.
Yeah. It was a very hard subject to breach today. We were sort of set on this path where there were two sides, both sides trying to win, and that was holding everything up. But we have to discuss these things. We have to discuss these things. We have to have more discussion about these things, and until every Mgtow realizes that there is a Mgtow responsibility, and we're better than I like to think that Mgtows are better than the average Joe out there, and there's a responsibility to Mgtow. There's a responsibility to your community on talking about these things, doing these things. But we see a lot of satire now about it, a lot of joking, a lot of pooning people about it. But I take it very seriously myself, and
I have Joe. I'm going to tell you, I've got a different perspective of Mgtow. Okay, I've spent years in business. I've done quite well, and I've learned over the years that the best way to proceed is to embrace the word yes, because that leads to success as opposed to winning. Little jab there.
a little opposed to winning. Yeah, I just made that video, so that's fresh on my mind.
No, it was
winning.
cool. I enjoyed it. It was a good video. But I would rather Mgtow embrace
truth.
the notion of yes instead of no. And I think one of the ways that we can embrace the term yes, even in the context of this discussion about what's right and what's wrong, I think we can embrace yes by categorizing our material. Because then we're not misrepresenting it.
We're not misrepresenting it. And
I've yet to see adult content come out that services the Mgtow community. And I personally believe that guys like Immortal have yet to express a valuable insight in those areas. We haven't heard from him yet, and we should. And I'm about yes. I'm not about no.
If you can categorize that properly and give some valuable insight why that's pertinent to Mgtow, and then that's fine. And 18 or older, so it doesn't reach a wrong segment of Mgtow, which there are, and we do know there's 16-year-old kids. We have a lot of 16-year-old, 17 and 18.
Hey, there's 12-year-old Mgtows out there. I've met some.
Yeah, we have to protect those children. It's our responsibility to do that, and.
But I think the only way we can do that is by taking ownership personally of the brand and the franchise.
Right. I would say that that's a good place to end this thing today.
Sorry for being so opinionated.
Oh no, you're not. Hey, that's great when we can do these things. We can figure some things out. We can go through this. I feel better about myself today. I'm sure a lot of people that were in here feel better about it, that we talked about it, and that's what Mgtow is about, isn't it? Talking about these things, being able to talk about these things as men.
Yeah, but I think we can also go forward with the idea that maybe the idea of categorizing our material ultimately might lead to a benefit.
Right. I'm probably going to do a video on it tomorrow. If I have a little time to research it, I'll need to get the correct categories, the correct symbols and everything down, and do a little bit of research. But
I think the idea introduces a new boundary of freedom. To be perfectly honest with you.
Yes, it will. It will definitely, because we can't be. If something happens wrong, then it'll say, "Oh wait, that's categorized properly." That's under a private. That was in a private room on a private, and it was done properly. And there won't be no more of these improper events that go along with this. Yeah, it's a great idea. Okay, with that, I'm probably going to shut down. Don Nan, do you have a statement you want to give at the end, or?
Look, I mean, what you two decide to do with your community is that's up to you guys. I'm not in it, so this all of you are talking about, I think that's great for Mgtow, but it's not really relevant to me. I just was here because I was infuriated about false accusations against me, and I think if there's one thing y'all could take back with you is just please, I mean, because I thought this was something where men in this community were different from feminists when they say when a woman goes and shoots her mouth off and tells a story, what do feminists say? You should just believe her instead of studying the facts. And what disappointed me was when accusations were made, men reacted the same way. They came to me. I mean, what bothered me is my character was called into question. Men were approaching me saying, is what Messenger saying about you true? Is what Traversable saying about you true? I mean, that bothered me, okay? That's why I was mad about it. I don't like my character being called into question. So that's why I showed up in the Hangout today, was to ask why these things were said about me and to pretty much plead my case, plead my innocence. But that's but other than that, I think what y'all are talking about doing with Mgtow is fantastic. I think that'd be very healthy for your group.
Okay,
Can I ask you something, Immortal?
Sure.
Real simple question. After your experience of being painted with the tar and then having the feathers thrown over you, is it the kind of event that you would wish on any other Mgtow?
Well, no, not at all. I wouldn't wish it on anyone, man or woman, to be falsely accused. No.
Yeah, and I'm coming from the same place. So I'm suggesting that in as much as you feel that you've been injured by this whole process, and to be perfectly honest with you, I think you have. A positive step forward may be to promote the idea of categorizing material. Let the buyer beware, and let Mgtow be free.
Yeah, I hope I never have to do another, questionable Mgtow video again. If I had to write, if I had the ability to choose, and it would be PG, and it would be very Mgtow oriented. But right now, I don't seem to have that ability. It just comes to me in little bundles here and there, and then I have to say something.
Hey, listen, if there was an X-rated forum, you'd be surprised at what I would have to say. I'm just as human as the next guy.
Yeah, we're all human, and yeah. So we're gonna wrap this up, and thanks for coming in, Nan. Thanks for John Galt. Thanks for all my guests, the Element X and Turk, and all the
Thanks
people
for
that were
inviting
in
me.
today. Thanks for showing up, so we can have these discussions. And with that, I'm going to end this broadcast. And all you guys out there, Greg, and who else is in there? Let me give some shout outs here real quick. Hairless Ape, Greg, Badass Doll, YouTuber, Jerry, Truth Janie, Anime Indian, Logical J, all you guys. Thanks for showing up and listening, and I hope you all have a great day. Thanks a lot.